Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvelous Movie Mondays. Yeah, wait, let's show off the shirts real quick. We're doing
Sure.
shirts this year. We usually do costumes, but because Halloween fell on a Friday, we really aren't getting to give this to you till Monday, November 3rd. So we're gonna keep it chill. We're gonna keep it with the sweaters and the cool spooky shirts this year. Also because it's I'm on the 7th, so getting a whole costume together on a Monday morning when I have rehearsals in literally a few hours is tough to do. But Kelsey, I appreciate you making the time for me. I've been delaying this recording for many weeks now just because things keep popping up. I got injured during one of my shows briefly. I'm okay. I'm okay. But yeah, it just was one of those things where it was just a lot of every port day, Monday or Fridays, which is when we could record this, there would always be something I would have to do or tend to, or um, yeah, basically I was busy. But we're back. We're here. We're here, Kels. Happy Halloween. How you doing?
Happy Halloween, Dill. I'm doing really good. I had a really interesting lineup of movies this year for the
Mhm.
Halloween season. Um, so I'm excited to chat Halloween with you, and I'm really excited to talk about Marvel Zombies.
Yes. So we decided to merge these two because Marvel Zombies is a very apropos Halloween watch. It was a first watch for both of us for Halloween. So we figured we just rope it in with our 31 days special. I did 31 days, 31 movies. Kelsey did, I believe, 13 Final Girl movies, which was her theme this year. So we're gonna kind of just talk about our top like three, bottom three, because picking a top five, bottom five is basically the entirety of Kelsey's list. But then we also have some superlatives along the way, and Kelsey can also give us any other information about her watching. Um, but Kelsey, as you said, you did, or as you said last episode, you did Final Girls this year. Do you have the full list just to tell us exactly what those 13 movies were? And yeah, just let us know what the 13 movies were in general.
Yes. So even though we had delayed this process a really long time just because I recently moved, I had a lot going on this month as well. I actually didn't hit all 13 of my movies. And the one
Gotcha.
that I didn't get to was because I didn't want to rush it. I wanted to absorb the movie. I also don't even know if it's considered like a final girl movie. I know when like a lot of people think like final girl, they think like slasher, group of
Mhm.
kids gets taken out one by one. There's a
Yeah.
final survivor. I kind of interpret it a little less literally and more just kind of like included some I movies that I knew were just like female led and were most likely where the survivor at the end was the female. But the movie that I did not get to, which you're going to be really upset to hear, Dale, was The Substance. Um,
Okay.
I included that one. It finally hit streaming. I was very excited to watch it, but I kept putting it off just because I was
It's okay.
watching them in order that they came out. So I started with movies like Friday the 13th, Hellraiser, Black Christmas. Um, I
The original
watched,
Black Christmas or the
yes,
remake?
the original Black Christmas with Margot Kidder. Um, I watched The Descendant, Ready or Not, Your Next, Final Destination from 2000, Suspiria, Terrifier, It Follows, Cuckoo, Immaculate, and then The Substance, which
Cool.
I did not get to,
Which of the,
basically.
Suspiria movies did you watch? The original or the remake with Dakota
Oh,
Fanning? Or not Dakota
no,
Fanning, Dakota Johnson?
I watched the original.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
If you like the original, and we'll get there in a sec probably, but check out the remake. The remake is fantastic. So okay, great. My list, I could list all 31. I guess I should. But they're all on my TikTok. They're all on the Facebook. But I had my friends picking the movies this year, so it was a really fun treat, kind of experiment to get people more involved and get people kind of having direct influence on my 31 days of Halloween. So I'll just go through the list. Allie chose It's The Great Pumpkin and Charlie Brown to kick off the month. My buddy Austin chose Halloween 2, Calabar's Revenge. Ben Buffard, that Kelsey and I did theater camp with growing up, picked The Innocents. Zach Love, the co-host of the channel, picked Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, the Tim Burton film. My sister Nina picked Barbarian and Megan. Couldn't decide, so I just watched them both. Jake Tato, previous MCU trivia champ, chose Kevin Smith's Red State. Carly chose Revenge. Malcolm chose Black Sheep. Rachel Love, Zach's wife, chose Casper. Dan Skip Allen chose The Howling. Maddie Fresh, Matt Chapman picked Psycho 2. My dad picked Friday the 13th. JD picked Clue. Ingrid, Austin's wife, picked Scream. Hunter Chambliss picked Heretic. Jacob Barber picked Beetlejuice. Or no, sorry, he picked Coraline. Brian Nussbaum picked Beetlejuice. Charles Mullen picked Dog Soldiers. You, Kelsey, chose The Conjuring. We'll get there in a sec.
Mhm,
My
mhm.
mom chose Let the Right One In. Stacy chose Hell House LLC. Chris chose REC or Rec. I don't know how you really pronounce that title because it's a play on recording. We'll talk about that in a sec. Lori, my friend Lori, chose K-pop Demon Hunters. As I said, Brian chose Beetlejuice. Win chose an episode of Doctor Who called The Waters of Mars, which technically was a TV movie. Um,
Oh,
Chad chose Frailty. Jake, my brother Jake, chose Terrifier, so I did also watch Terrifier, Kelsey. Corey chose
cool.
David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. Carrie chose a streaming film called Deadstream. My director for Band on the Run, Jeff Hupp, chose Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. My co-star of Band on the Run, Larry Bagby, who is in Hocus Pocus, chose Hocus Pocus, and then I chose Halloween as my annual watch, of course. So those were my 31 movies that I watched. Kels, we're gonna give our like top three, bottom three movies if you want, and then you can also give your if you want to do like a ranking of the girls themselves or the final girls or just give like a favorite final girl or a least favorite final girl, whatever you want to do. But Kels, what was like your first like not your worst watch, but your like third to the bottom, like not the biggest fan of this movie?
I mean, I didn't do movies as a whole. I really just focused on like the female protagonist just
Cool.
because I was looking in a final girl was someone who was like very competent. Definitely didn't have to rely like too much on others to kind of make it to the end. Like I definitely love watching characters in horror movies make really smart decisions because I feel
Mhm.
like you're constantly yelling at the screen, like, no, why would you go upstairs? Or why would you
Yeah.
go to the basement? Why would you run into that shed full of chainsaws when the guy with the chainsaws chasing you? So my bottom three are definitely girls that I was kind of disappointed in. And I think I
Mhm.
have to kick it off with Jamie from It Follows. I don't know if you've seen It
Interesting.
Follows still.
Yeah, yeah, I have. I think a lot of people love It Follows. I think it's
Mhm.
good. I've never been quite on the hype train that others have. It was actually filmed in Detroit, and I watched it in Detroit when I was filming Band on the Run with the other guys in the show. So in the movie, so it was kind of more fun to watch it in Detroit. And so I liked it more on rewatch. But that's a movie that everyone kind of goes crazy for that I've never really loved. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely I definitely would describe it as a slow burn. It's definitely not your typical like flashy jump scare horror movie. It's definitely much more about the tension and
Mhm.
it has these great like cinematography, like these really like long shots, a lot of like the camera like panning over because it's all about like trying to figure out if the person following you is trying to kill you or just like a person passing by. So it definitely has that like tension aspect to it. What I dislike specifically about Jamie was the fact that she really didn't make any sort of moves or come up with any sort of ideas to kind of help herself. She kind of just spent the whole movie running away from the problem. If you haven't seen It Follows, it's basically the STD ghost where when you have sex with someone, they pass this entity to you where it could take the form of someone you know. It could be more often than not, it's a complete stranger. And essentially, this person will just follow you until they get you. And if they get you, they kill you. It doesn't speed up, it doesn't slow down, it can only walk, but it will always be following you,
Mm,
regardless of what you do. So she just kind of spends the whole movie like living her life afraid and then has these moments where she encounters it and is like, oh god, I gotta run, I gotta go, and she doesn't really strategize or come up with any way to sort of help herself. Like she has two guys in the movie that like are crushing on her the whole time, so they're both willing to kind of like fall on the sword for her, and they're like, just give it to me and like I'll deal with it. So she gives it to the first guy and he ends up dying, spoiler. And then she ends up giving it to the other guy, and her other friend in the film is the only smart one because he gets it, and then he goes around to the ladies of the night working the street corner, and he's like, if I give it to this prostitute, she's bound to have sex with someone else pretty immediately. So then the chain should just, keep, because even if it keeps coming back to the prostitute's going to have sex with someone else. So it'll just keep getting passed through all these different,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm,
men. So I'm like, he was the only smart one in the whole film, and Jamie was just kind of like a victim the whole time. And so
mm,
I had to give her a 1 out of 5 in the
dang.
final girl uh world. Even though
Okay.
it's a good movie, like I said, a slow burn, so you really have
Mm,
to like sit with it. It's definitely not a quick hour 30 slasher, lots of
mm.
action horror film. But anyway, she's gonna kick off my bottom 3 for sure.
Gotcha. There are kind of like four movies that I want to talk about as like the bottom because everything I watched this year, everything that everyone recommended was pretty good. I mean, there was only one or two rewatches where I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. But as far as new watches, people recommended some good movies. I don't think any of them are like right now masterpiece 5 out of 5s, or 10 out of 10s for me. But like a lot of movies were solid, like 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10s for me. There were four movies though that I gave like negative reviews to. The
Mm,
first is not going to be an official pick just because I think when I watch the whole series as a whole, I think I'm going to like it a lot more. And also because I think it has so much merit, even though it is badly made. I'll just say right now, it's Terrifier. Jake recommended it for me. I will say it feels like if you have the right vibe, it feels like one of those movies where like you could have put on at like a sleepover with a bunch of your friends at 2 a.m. when you guys couldn't go to sleep. I think that's kind of the vibe it fills. And I think if that's the vibe you're looking for, I think it really, really works. The only thing is like it isn't well made, it isn't well acted, but is that part
mm,
of the charm? And that's why I also kind of put it together with another film, which is what Malcolm recommended, which is Black Sheep, which is the same exact thing where it's like at times I'm like, is it supposed to be campy? Is it trying to be serious? And because it's failing, it is campy. And that's kind of like the Matt Framework thing of it all, like where like, I like movies like that that are trying so hard but are so bad, but the heart is in it. Whereas like both Black Sheep and Terrifier, I can't tell if they're trying to make a good movie and failing, or if they're trying to make something very corny and campy, and the acting's supposed to be bad. The effects are sometimes supposed to be bad. What I'll give Terrifier is I think the kills and the effects are actually really good. And I do think Black Sheep, the effects are actually pretty good. So I think like there is some merit and charm to be had in both those movies, but it's also the constant struggle of are they intending for this to be bad? Because if they're intending it for it to be bad, then it's not as charming. But if they're not intending it for it to be bad, it's actually better. Does that make sense? Where like the
no,
movie's better.
totally, Dill,
Okay.
because Terrifier is also in my bottom 3.
Okay.
Just because
So yeah,
Tara
is that your number
survives that.
two, or do you want to save it for later? Is it going to be your number one?
No, no,
Or
I'll just tell you now, like it's definitely my number 2 in the bottom
okay,
3
so we
watches,
can just
just
talk about it
because
now. Yeah.
Tara survives, and I have no idea how, because she is shot in the face 8 times.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. I was like, this is getting a little ridiculous because you know that in the beginning of the movie, she's the one being interviewed. She has she's all disfigured now because of what she went through. And she's talking about how she was the lone survivor of this event. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, she surely was just shot in the face 6 times. How the hell did she survive that? What I will say about Terrifier is that I think part of the charm is that because it started, I was looking into this franchise, and it seems like it started as a 20-minute short. It got
Mhm.
made into a feature. So I kind of like the aspect of, you can kind of see it's this guy's like dream and kind of baby like coming to life. And even though it's not like super well executed, I know that people love this franchise and love
Mhm.
these movies. It's
Right.
definitely got its own little cult following. So maybe like the Terrifier 2 and 3, the budget gets a little higher, and it doesn't feel so much like it was made on iMovie.
Yeah. I've heard Terrifier 2. That's a perfect example of iMovie. Yeah, because it does feel like the transitions and just the quality of the film itself, the grain of the picture quality, just
Yeah.
kind of like gives you that kind of, yeah, like I made this at home DIY feel, which also is like charming. Like there is a charm to that.
Hmm.
And I think for a movie like Terrifier that is a little, kind of trashy, I think it works. I think it actually works. That's why I'm not like solidifying either Terrifier or Black Sheep as my definitive like bottom three, just because both of those movies I feel like, and Black Sheep is a movie where like these killer sheep, something goes wrong. There's a disease with these sheep, and they become like zombie sheep, and they start eating people's faces off, and then these humans start becoming sheep, and they become these like humanoid sheep monsters. So again, very camp. So I think that's the thing with both these movies, Terrifier and Black Sheep, is that like they're very silly and stupid, but I think that's the
Mm,
charm. It's just it's not going to compete with like, the original Howling with Dee Wallace, where it's like this like werewolf classic. It's just not going to necessarily be that. So I had trouble picking a bottom three because the bottom two were pretty easy, but like the third one, it was like those both those movies have a lot of flaws, but I think the flaws actually add to the charm. But yeah, I don't think Terrifier is like a good movie, but I do think also I've heard the second and third ones are so much better. So I'm really excited to watch them, and I think once I watch the series as a whole, I think I'll like the first one because I'll get to watch them all in conjunction with one another. So holding out hope, holding out for a hero there with Art the Clown. So yeah,
yeah. No, yeah,
cool.
because he is scary. He's
Hmm.
a scary guy, and the look of him is terrifying. Um, yeah, it was very gory. They for as low as a budget as it looked, at least I thought that they did a good job with the gore. Like it
Hmm.
was, I was like, oh, I'm having like a little bit of a hard time watching this. It's a little hard to stomach at
Yeah,
some moments. um and yeah, and
yeah.
I'll talk about this movie a little bit more when we talk about maybe our superlatives for uh
I was. It's funny
this
because I
this
also have a
movie.
superlative for Terrifier,
Okay.
but
Oh
you already
god.
said your number two was Terrifier. Do you have any
Yes.
more thoughts on Tara herself or no?
Yeah, I mean, she was cool. She was pretty good at like, defending herself a little bit. She obviously does that thing where you run around banging on doors and you're trying to get other people's attention and it's not working. I just think that the fact that she survived and everything that she survived throughout the course of that night was just really unrealistic. And that's where it falls for me. I can't even fault Tara herself really, because she was doing a pretty good job taking on Art. But it just got completely unrealistic. So I
Hmm.
had to dock her down to my bottom three.
That's fair. So my number two is a movie that we love the webs on this channel, and I did like Chad's choice this month. It was Frailty, which was a really fun Bill Paxton psychological thriller. But his wife Carrie recommended a film called Deadstream that I really wanted to love. But it's a movie about this guy who's a Twitch streamer who decide to Twitch stream in a haunted house, which is such a
Mm,
good premise. And it is kind of played as like a horror comedy because this guy is kind of like just inherently a funny guy. Everything he talks about, he's like Twitch streaming, so everything is very heightened in his personality, and he's always making like little quips at the camera. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Which I think is like a really cool experiment. The only problem is when it's like an hour and a half long, and this is my thing with like found footage movies because I watched I think 3 or 4 found footage movies this month, which is found footage for anyone who doesn't know is like when you're watching someone film something, like that is the movie. You're watching it as if you're watching it on someone's camera. Um, an example of this is like Cloverfield or Blair Witch Project. And I famously don't love Blair Witch Project, and I think Cloverfield, while I like it's very hard to watch because it is so dizzying. Because something about the found footage of it all, like I usually like them until I don't, and then once I check out, I'm out. And that's the problem with found footage is I can only watch so much of it for so long before I start to be like, okay, I get it. Okay, like what else do you have to offer? And I think Deadstream has like a good story. I do think the guy is entertaining. The only thing is like he is a little annoying. So like hearing him and only him for like 2 hours just talking to the camera can get annoying. It's why people sometimes check out on my videos an hour in. I get it, but it's like I do think it's one of those things where
oh, stop.
unless you really find this guy so charismatic and think he's so funny, I think the comedy is lost. Where I've heard people, Carrie and Chad included, think he's so funny and think the movie's very funny. But I think because he is such an acquired taste, the comedy is an acquired taste, and then the horror itself, I think is more interesting than the comedy in it, which I'll give it. But also it's one of those things where just found footage for me very rarely gets scary for me just because it's such like a film exercise that I'm not as immersed unless it's really selling the authenticity of like, no, this is actually happening to this person in this moment, which is going to be a testament to one of the movies I'm going to put in my top three because I actually do have a found footage movie in my top three this year. So it doesn't necessarily mean, found footage immediate no for me. It's just it's harder for me with found footage movies, but I thought this was a cool idea. So again, like even though it's in my bottom three, like my friends picked really, really good movies, and I think Carrie picked one that was like really a fantastic idea, fantastic concept, but maybe could have been a better concept for like a 30-minute short than maybe a full length feature. Is kind of where I'm at. But the idea of a
Mm.
guy going through a haunted house as a Twitch streamer doing a Twitch stream, it's a great idea, and I think it's cool that someone came up with that idea and can like claim that, because I think other people probably had that idea and can't do it now. So yeah, I just didn't find it as funny as I think other people do, and I didn't find it as scary as some other people do. And I think I don't know, maybe I need to rewatch it and just kind of be in a better headspace for it. Some found footage movies I think take time, but that's dead stream. But check it out. I think Kelsey, you might actually like it. So let me know if you ever check it out. Maybe you can give a more positive uh, review on it. I don't know.
Totally. It's honestly the way you're describing it is kind of making me it's reminding me of the horror movie that Joe Keery is stars in. I think it's called Spree. And it's kind of
Mhm.
like I really don't know what it's about, but it looks like
Free.
it's like this guy who's an Uber driver who kills people. Um so I don't know. I like when people are introducing these like very modern concepts to horror movies, especially with
Mhm.
like technology, because it's like it's so much easier to make a horror movie that's like definitely like a period piece, because like the access to like phones and the internet definitely makes it like much more easier for people to like get help in these kind of situations. So I kind of like when you know people incorporate like different aspects of technology in the horror movie, just because it's not a easy thing to do. You really have to make it believable that this person who in the modern age would not be have find my friends available to them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
service and the internet and all these things. So if you can make a really believable horror film in the modern age, like I think that's an accomplishment. So I'll definitely
Yeah.
check this one out.
Yeah, and like you kinda said, like, it's very impressive to see them, like, make it too. Like, you have to plan out every single shot, because this one, it's like one continuous stream too. It's not one take, but I do think it is cool how, like, he planned out every single scene, like, how he was gonna shoot it and film it, so where the lighting is still on it, and, like, lighting a movie like a found footage movie is tough, and I'll give him that, because you could just shoot the camera, but, I think it's a little harder to get that first person POV. So, the more I talk about Deadstream, the more I actually kinda like it. So, again, bottom three, but like not by any means a super bad film. So there was only one film that I would say is like a bad movie that I watched that I just didn't really care for. But even then, I have praises of it. But Kelsey, tell us what your number one final girl, or sorry, bottom
Cool.
one final girl, your worst final girl was.
My worst final girl of this watch was I'm still not sure. I think her name's Claire. From Final Destination 2000.
Okay.
I Well, because it's spelled clear, it's spelled Clear, but I think
Mhm.
pronounced Claire. So, and I think I was hearing Claire throughout the movie. It's been a minute since I watched this movie, but it was just like it was a very similar problem I had with her that I had with Jamie, is that she was just very dependent on what everyone else was doing, and she really couldn't like fend for herself, because the whole premise is that um her and her classmates are supposed to go on this trip to Paris, but one of her classmates, who's really the main um protagonist in the movie, I'm forgetting his name now, but he has like a premonition that the flight that they're on explodes in the air and everyone dies. So he has this freak out on the plane. He gets only like a small group of students like off the plane, just because they're like, okay, everyone who's being rowdy, get off the plane now. And so him and like Claire, to a couple, some other kids from their class are taken off the plane, and lo and behold, the plane that they were supposed to be on explodes, and they were supposed to die. So then the entire movie, because they cheated death is coming to them.
Mm.
And I knew about this franchise. This is my first time ever seeing any of the Final Destination movies. I avoided these movies for a very long time because I have a lot of anxiety around death,
Yeah.
and all these like possibilities of like how a person could die, and I just didn't need to like fuel my nightmares any more than I already have. My imagination does a pretty good job of freaking me out. but honestly, the deaths were like pretty goofy. So once I moved past that, I was like, it wasn't like one of them, like the girl just straight up gets hit by a bus, but like the other ones, it's like um the first guy to die, like because he leaves the sink running, the bathroom floor gets all wet, and then he spills a bottle of lotion in the tub, so then that's all slippery, and then he slips on the water, slips on the lotion, gets the shower cord like tangled around his neck, and then he dies. And it's like, what the hell? Like the laws of physics were completely ignored. I feel like in the process of making this
Yeah.
death, I was like, okay, well, if all the deaths are gonna be this goofy, then I don't think I have anything to worry about. And so Claire is the only one who really believes her friend, who's saying that he's like seeing these like premonitions, and that he doesn't know. It's just the feeling that he has. So she's like, well, I'm going to partner up with you because you seem to have an understanding of like what's going on. And like, I don't want to be the next one to die. So she is smart in like that sense, but really she's completely dependent on him, and like whether or not she like has a premonition of her dying. And so she really fell flat for me. And I, didn't care for her much, which is strange because I got some of these recommendations from like lists on the internet of like the
Mhm.
most iconic final girls, and she was on the list. And so I'm
Hmm.
like, why is she among the most iconic when like she really didn't do anything for
Yeah.
herself, you know?
Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm sorry you didn't love it as much. Those movies, I saw the first one. I've never seen all the other ones, but I've heard the other ones. The kills, some of them are still elaborate, but they're also scarier. Like I've heard about some of the kills in the next few involving like an airplane, a roller coaster. Like there are some horrifying ones
Mm,
from what I've heard. So that might be one that like maybe next year
mm.
I kind of dive into some Final Destination a little bit more because I heard the new one is also very good that came out. It's Bloodlines or whatever. So maybe
Oh,
we'll
interesting.
have to give those a watch. It's tough with some of these franchises that have been around for so long that when you watch the first one, it almost feels a little tame. It almost feels like, wait, this was special, and then you watch the franchise and you're like, okay, I get it. This is kind of what I'm feeling with
Yeah.
Terrifier. It's like kind of what I feel about Friday the
Mhm.
13th in a way as well. But okay. Well, that was your bottom three. Oh, my number one. Sorry, I didn't give my bottom. Sorry, Tato. It's Red State. Kevin Smith's movie Red State. Here's the thing. I think Kevin Smith is a really good filmmaker, and I'm really excited that he took like a risk and did something horror because all his movies are very similar in terms of its genre, and this is very different. It's about this like group of like teenagers who think they're gonna get laid with this prostitute, so they follow her and get kidnapped by this religious cult. Which is again a very scary concept and stuff. And it deals with like religion and has this like really scary like preacher figure and um but then it becomes kind of like this like FBI rescue shootout film with like John Goodman as like the director of the FBI, and it kind of turns into like more of an action film than a horror film. And I think the thing with this film is just that like I just didn't love the way it was shot. Kevin Smith kind of has a low budget for all his movies and like makes that part of the charm. But for a movie like this, it just kind of came across almost in the Terrifier way, a little amateurish behind the camera. I didn't love all the color in it, and I also just think the characters themselves, like the protagonists, like the group of friends and teenagers, they're not really likable because like what they're going to do is like hook up with some prostitute and like they're kind of these dumb kids, but like they're really given no personality to where it's hard to distinguish each character from one another unless you know the actors, which I knew one of them. It's a kid from Sky High, Michael Angarino, I think is his name. But it's like I just wish there was a little bit more personality with those characters. I feel like John Goodman is a memorable character. Maybe it's just because it's John Goodman. Then there's also the main pastor guy,
Mm.
and then Melissa Leo is in it too. But like aside from those three characters, I feel like a lot of the characters are kind of samey. There's not a lot of distinction between them. And I just felt like the horror itself, like there are other movies on this list that just scared me more. And we'll talk about that in a sec because I want to have a little debate with you in a sec. But um, a movie for Halloween, like if it doesn't scare me, it's automatically going to kind of go in the bottom tier, unless it's supposed to be like a comedy, like Hocus Pocus or Coraline or something. Even though Coraline scares the EBGs out of me, but like Beetlejuice, like those
Yeah.
movies aren't supposed to be technically scary. But if it's a horror film, like I want to be scared, and I just think scary. Is so subjective. So I didn't love Red State. I think it's cool that he's taking a swing, but even then, like I'd prefer his other style stuff than Red State. But that's kind of it. That's it. Again, not
Totally.
passionate. Like none of these movies. I'm like it's in my literal number 32 out of 32 of all 32 movies I watched this month. But I'm not like "Oh my god, that sucked." I'm like, it just wasn't really for me." So, again, no
Yeah.
bad movies this year. Good job, people. Y'all did a good job. And yes, that means the movie that
Yeah.
you picked for me is not at the bottom of the list, Kelsey. It was my number 29 out of 32. So you're good. You're good. There's still 3 films worse. Um, but
All right, I'll take it.
yes, Kels,
It wasn't a movie you talked about in your bottom 3, so
yes. We can talk about it now though if you want to do like a quick little like 2 minutes on The Conjuring because Kelsey did pick The Conjuring for me, and if you also have my TikTok, I don't know. I've never loved The Conjuring. I think it's just because I've never been scared of it. It's so jump scare heavy, and jump scares at this point are just kind of annoying and predictable for me. And I don't know, Kels. I want you to sell me on The Conjuring because I'm gonna give it a
mhm.
third try when I watch through like the entire franchise. But I want you to sell me right now. You have 2 minutes. Sell me on The Conjuring, Kels. Everyone's paid to see this moment. I want you to sell me.
Well, listen, I think the reason why I love The Conjuring is because I remember being really scared watching it, and I was like, that was like a good, like solid, like hour and however long it is that like I felt like truly terrified to be watching it. Like I felt like there really was no downtime to kind of like relax, especially when it really picks up. I also love like they kind of have these moments of like kind of comedy from what I remember with like the crew that comes in to like film everything. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe I'm thinking of Insidious because they are both Blumhouse films. So
And
maybe
both
I think
James
there's
Wan,
more like
same director too.
yeah. So, I also just I know I said this in my comment on TikTok, but I also just remember there being a lot of heart and a lot of substance just because like you're following this like really like terrified family. And I also just like I don't know what it is. There's something about Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson as Lorraine and Ed Warren that I just like love. I could if they made better movies, I feel like the two of them like really should have gotten like I feel like a series that just
Mhm.
followed like all the Ed and Lorraine Warren cases just because I think that they both do such a great job in those roles. And because there's also like the connection between the two of them and then like the heart with like the family aspect of it all, like I just think it elevates this. It's not a typical like horror movie where you don't like, sometimes like it's kind of hard to find someone to root for, but you don't want this like family to be torn apart by what's happening to them. Like I feel like this family is really easy to root for. I also love the atmosphere that surrounds this movie. I love the shots. I love like the look of it. I love that it's
Mhm.
kind of like it looks kind of vintage. It looks kind of it's definitely like a period piece. Because I'm pretty sure it takes place in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I think just like two moments really stick in my mind with this film. The moment where Ed and Lorraine are in the yard together with that giant tree in the backyard, and you see a shot of Ed, you see a shot of Lorraine, and once it pans back to Ed, you see what Lorraine is looking at, which is a body dangling from the tree, and you only see the feet right behind Ed's head, and that shot was like so freaky to me. And then I think another moment that really stuck with me in this film was when I think it's Lorraine who's putting up the laundry on the clothesline, and then one of the sheets gets taken by the wind. You see an outline of a body of an apparition that catches on it. Then the sheet gets taken up to the window, and you see that the apparition has now no longer in the lawn with Lorraine, but it's now been moved to the window in the second story house. And I thought that that was also like really really cool and just like a unique way to like present a ghost to us. I agree with you to a certain extent that the it does get kind of predictable, especially in the third act where it's just your run of the mill possession. You're doing all the gross things are happening with like the body and the gore, and
Mhm.
there's the power of Christ compels you, and they're doing all the stuff. But also what I love about the Conjuring and kind of the Conjuring universe is that I love how like Ed and Lorraine are like flawed in a little bit of in a way because Lorraine like I love how there's like a mystery to like oh, like Lorraine's like seen something crazy and you don't know what it is. Like you just know
Mhm.
that she's experienced something so scary and so terrifying that like she really doesn't like, using her gift or doing, as much as she wants to help people, she's like, I've just seen the most intense, like scary thing in my life. Like, I'm never doing this again. And you kind of don't know what that is. And that kind of carries over through the films as well. So you get a sense that like they've been jaded, they've been affected by what they do. Um, Within helping all these people. So that's why I love the Conjuring movie. Like I said, it's been a minute since I've seen it, so maybe it doesn't hold up quite as well as I remember it. I'm pretty sure like the last time I watched it, I was probably like in college, so I was definitely younger. So it was
Mm.
definitely way easier to. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a big old scaredy cat. Like it's pretty easy to scare me. So, but
Yeah. Well,
scaring like comedy, horror like comedy is very subjective and people get scared by different things, and if this just wasn't that spooky to you, like I can't fault you for that.
I will do in 2026, I'm gonna do a full watch of Conjuring, Annabelle, and the Nun movies. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the Conjuring 2. I'm gonna watch them all, and then I'm gonna end with the original. Because I think the thing with the original is like when you don't have anything else to compare it to, is it that you're just not scared of this idea, and therefore all the movies aren't gonna scare you? But then if that's the case, then this movie's probably gonna be a lot better because I'm gonna be like, well, this is still the best story, best character work of that franchise. But if the other ones scare me a lot and then I go back to this and it's still not scaring me, then I'll know it's this movie specifically. So I'm gonna watch all of them, then end with this one again at the end, just to kind of be like, okay, so is this just a good movie that just didn't scare me, or is it a movie that I just don't like at all? And I think it's going to tell with the other movies. 'Cause I've heard some of the Annabelles are good. I've heard the second Conjuring's good, and then I've heard the other ones are all kind of diminishing returns. So again, I'm excited to
Mm.
watch them all and then go back to the Conjuring and see if it's really just me, if it's the movie, if it's scary, if it's not. I don't know. But thank you, Kels. That was a really good like little 5 minute soundbite on the Conjuring because I really do think there are so many people who love it. Everyone puts in their top 10 of the decade. I don't get it, but I'm gonna give it a try, especially with all the things you said in mind. I do remember those shots, like I do remember them. It's just they didn't scare me, but I do remember them. So that is the thing. It does have memorable images, which cannot be said about a lot of other films. Even the ones I have higher on this list, there aren't distinct images that come to mind like they do with The Conjuring. So I'll give The Conjuring that. But let's get into our top three because I think that's kind of where we're gonna sing a lot of praises. But Kelsey, who's your number three final girl on your list?
My number 3 final girl, I think is Grace from Ready or Not.
Cool, cool, fun movie.
So sorry, you were frozen for a minute, so I was like, did Dill hear me?
It's okay. Do you hear me now? Am I good?
This is a movie that yeah, I can hear you. Just sometimes you freeze a little bit,
Okay, I think
but
you're
I
on
can
a
always
slight
hear you.
delay from me, Kel. So let me do a quick thing. I'm gonna do a little behind the scenes StreamYard thing. I'm gonna pause it, and then I'm gonna have us both leave the studio. We're gonna both get in, and I'm gonna resume it. So a little behind the scenes. It's gonna stop right now. Okay, we fixed our tech glitches. I think we're good. Kelsey, ready or not? Tell us about it. One more time.
This is a movie you've been wanting me to watch for a while, Dale. I know you sing a lot of praises with this one, and I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a great blend of horror and comedy. I think that the ending is just ridiculous enough that it works,
Yeah.
especially because you get to the end and like you are just so rooting for Grace and you just so want her to like get out of this situation, especially once knew her fresh husband, literally husband of 24 hours, once he turns on her as well because he also is trying to break the curse. You're just like, oh my god, like she's got to get away from these people. Like there's no amount of money in the world that would like makes this better, or being a part of this family like worth it by any means, because they're gonna kill her. um I thought that she did a lot of the reason why she's the bottom 3 of my 3 top final girls is just because she did a lot of running away. Like she has this, okay, so she has this really iconic look. That's also what I like in a final girl, is a really iconic look. And so she has the ripped wedding dress, she gets the shotgun, she gets the ammo around her. It's the I'm pretty sure it's the movie poster is how she looks. Like I feel like everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Um, but the shotgun doesn't even work. So she tries to use it once and then that completely goes out the window because they're like, "Do you really like this is ancient. Like do you really think that like we would allow you to have like a working weapon in this house?" And so that I was like, I totally thought that like that was gonna be like her whole like shtick is that the machine gun moment in Die Hard. I was
Mhm.
looking for like that kind of thing. But it doesn't even work. So she has to abandon that, and then she just like keeps running and getting captured and getting freed and getting captured. And I just wish that they made her a little more self-reliant and made her just like a little cooler, a little smarter. Like maybe she's like planting traps, like Home Alone style, like trying to, get these people to stop chasing her. And yeah, so as much as I really enjoyed the film and really enjoyed the performance, wink, wink, tease. Yeah, I definitely have to put her at the bottom just because I wanted her to be a little more, a little tougher, a little smarter.
Mhm. That's fair. Yeah, I really like Ready or Not. I want to revisit that. I've only seen it once and it was in the theater, but I remember really, really, really liking it. My number three, and this is crazy because I said I don't love found footage movies. I just think, something about it. Just I'm it's hard for me to absorb myself in them as difficult as that is because they're supposed to be absorbing because you're supposed to literally be like looking at it for first person point of view. But I really like this movie. It's a I believe Spanish horror movie called Wreck.
Mm,
It's pronounced I don't know how it's pronounced because it's the play is that if you look at the poster it's like it's got like a bracket and an REC red dot. It's supposed to be like when you record on a camera in the top left corner it says rec. It's kind of like our stream right now how it says recording, but it's like it's REC, so it's styled like it's on the camera. So I don't know how people pronounce it. If they pronounce it REC or rec. Either way, this movie is really, really, really good. It's about this like medical outbreak. They don't really necessarily say if it's zombies per se,
mm,
or some virus, but it's kind of crazy. It's basically like a lockdown of like this hospital or this I think it's a hospital or it's a firehouse, but they're basically trapped inside. They're doing like some documentary on it, and then apparently everyone in the hospital or in the space starts turning in this building. It's about this woman and this cameraman, this news reporter trying to get out of this building, except it's in lockdown, and there's all these like bloodthirsty, flesh-eating monsters now trying to attack them. So it's kind of like a zombie thriller, but it's set in one building, one location where you have to get from all the way up there, all the way out of the building. And
mm,
it's all shot with one camera while this person's trying to report the news. And what I love about this film is that she still tries to like keep her like news reporter on throughout the entire movie, which is kind of like ridiculous and silly because it's like, girl, fight for your life, but at the same time, she's trying to like stay. It's kind of like the Deadstream thing, but it's not like played for laughs. It's kind of sad in a way because it's like, whoa,
mm,
like this is real. This is like what the world like. This is like an example of what the world kind of was with like COVID. Even though this movie came out decades before COVID happened, it's kind of interesting because it kind of gave a lot of the parallels of what do people do in crisis, how do people act in crisis. But what really got me was just like the use of the horror and the way they were able to get so much out of such a single location. Like as the movie goes on, you start to see less and less bodies, less and less people because everyone's being killed off. And it's a really cool device to where at the end it's just kind of this one person alone with a monster in a room, and the lights go out, and it's when like you film something on a camera and the lights are on, it becomes like green. It's like in night vision. There's this whole like final like 5 minutes that's all night vision with like this
mm,
monster lurking around this woman trying not to make any noise. It is I'm just gonna say now, this is the scariest moment of any movie I watched this month, where like this woman is literally like trying not to make a noise while the camera is like lying beside her, and there's this monster kind of walking around, and like you're trying not to disturb it. Like that is the scariest. It's like Quiet Place, but if you were in the center of the action, watching it with your own eyes, like I've really given found footage movies a tough time. Blair Witch Project, I famously said I don't like. I just talked about Deadstream not being a big fan of. There were some other ones I watched this year that were okay but not great. But this movie, something about that ending was just so terrifying that I was like, wow, like I think they did it really well. I think this is like kind of the best of this kind of genre that I will probably get, which is really really cool. So if you haven't seen Wreck, watch it. It's so fun. It has subtitles, which is a little tough,
mm,
but I think also keeps you a little bit more engrossed and harder to check out, because I think the thing with found footage, especially for like Blair Witch, is like I check out after a point. I'm like, okay, they're just still walking in the woods. It almost feels like a video game. Whereas this one, I'm like, every single scene, there's something new, there's something surprising, and like at the very end, that last scene is just so good. To where I actually talking about it, I almost want to kind of put it higher, but I'm gonna keep it at number three. Really fun recommendation. This was Chris Diaz's pick. So Chris Diaz, you picked Rec. He was like one of the last videos I got for the project, and ended up being one of my favorite movies. So good on you, Chris. This was a really fun one. But Kelsey, you should check that one out. I think you'd like it a lot.
Wow. Honestly, like the way you're talking about it, first of all, I definitely do want to check it out, and I'm excited to hear about what your top two are because that one sounds great.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that sounds absolutely terrifying. Honestly, with the whole like reporter thing, it's making me think like Gale Weathers from the Scream
A little bit.
franchise a little
Yes.
bit, but that's wow, that's crazy.
Hmm.
I think I think the next final girl for me that I have to talk about is a movie that I didn't know was going to be that good just because I feel like it's for some reason I feel like there was a string of movies that are exactly like this and came out around the same time. And it's from I believe it's from 2016, Your Next. Um
Okay.
I
I
didn't
did.
have
I think I've seen this one. Yeah.
I didn't have high hopes for it. Oh, not 2016 at all, 2011. Just because it's these the concept is essentially and then there were none, like these people are all in a room, they start dying one by one. You have to figure out either like how to survive or like, why people are attacking you, like what's going on. And it essentially becomes this whole like betrayal scenario where this woman who's been she's either they're dating or they're engaged, she's engaged to this man, she's invited to their a dinner party with his family, and essentially they start being hunted by these different people, in they're all wearing different masks of like animals. So like the main guy has like a bunny mask on, there's like a fox, there's all these
Mhm.
different guys with animal masks on, and essentially one by one like his whole family is picked off, and you find out that at the end it was like the two brothers who teamed up to basically hire these people to kill their entire family. The girlfriend of one of the brothers figures all of this out. She is a total badass the whole movie. Her name's Erin.
Mhm.
And I just love that like she wasn't afraid to like do the really messy like she didn't take shit from anyone in this movie. She stood up for herself. She killed people when she had to. She was very very reliant. She found weapons wherever she could. She was very smart and intentional about everything that she did in the movie. There's this one crazy death where she takes the like bottom of a blender and like shoves it on top of like the one brother's head and like
Mhm.
presses like puree, and then just like totally just drills a hole into his skull, and I was like, "Oh my god." And
Mhm.
then oh my god, and then the ending is crazy because I'm going to talk about the ending right now.
Mhm.
Um the cops end up, I think she calls the cops at one point, and so they finally get to the house, and it's when she's confronting the one brother that she was in a relationship with, and it's like, how the fuck could you do this, like what is wrong with you? And he was like, no, 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 like you were never meant to die, we were always supposed to be the only two that got out of this. And she's like, well, I don't believe a word you say, like you were willing to like watch me die or like watch me get hurt, whatever, this entire time. So what are you talking about? Kills him. And when she kills him like a police officer, it's almost like Night of the Living Dead. Like the police officer finally gets there, witnesses her kill the brother, and then shoots her because he's like, oh my God, this is the woman who's been putting everyone in danger, obviously, because I just watched
Mhm.
her kill someone. But fortunately enough, she is only shot in the shoulder, so survives the shot. And then the police officer goes to open the front door, and she's like, "No!" And then it was like another booby trap that the killers had set up, so that kills police officer, and then the title screen just shows, and it's like this splat noise, and it says "You're next," and I was like, oh, that was a really cool ending, and I'm really glad that it wasn't exactly like Night of the Living Dead, and that Erin was actually able to make it out of alive. But I just thought that she was really cool, and it wasn't a movie that I was expecting that I was gonna like so much, and I did.
Nice. That's really cool. I watched Your Next. I'm looking now. I watched it when I did my ABC themed year for 31 Days of Halloween in 2022. I did that for Y.
Ah,
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought there were fun horror beats, surprises along the way. A director who doesn't reinvent the wheel but still has so much inspiration behind their style. Yeah, like I should rewatch this because this one didn't leave the biggest impression on me, but the way you talk about it, I'm like, oh, I want to go back and watch this again. And I think, did they make a sequel to this? Maybe, I don't know if they did. Your
I
Next Two.
don't I don't know.
No, they did not. But he did the Godzilla Kong movies. He also did the movie Death Note VHS. Oh, he did The Guest, the Adam Wingard. Yeah, I like The Guest. It's a good one.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely want to check that out again. That sounds very, very good. I have seen it, but it's one of those movies I haven't seen in so long that I forgot about. So I want to rewatch it all over again. Um, Okay, my number 2, this is one that's not scary, it just was a blast, and it's a movie that everyone's seen, and I just hadn't, and I finally had JD recommend it to me. It's Clue. I really like Clue.
Oh,
It's really fun. I think it's silly, it's got great atmosphere, the performances are all great. Tim Curry gives one of the best performances of this slate. It's not my number 1, surprisingly, but it is up there as one of my favorites. I just think it's a near perfect film for what it is. It's a board game adaptation, but it's still so you know, cinematic and just a great mystery. I love the endings. Have you seen this one, Clue?
no.
Okay, okay. So there you go. So everyone has seen it except for Kelsey and I, but now I have. I won't say what the ending is, but the ending is really, really clever, really, really fun. They actually in the theaters, Kels, they released this movie with different endings. So you would go to the theater and get whatever ending you got. So it was kind of
Oh,
incentive for
cool.
people to kind of go back to the theaters and see it again, even though it was a box office bomb. So I guess it wasn't a good enough tactic. But I like that idea where if you don't know what the ending you're gonna get is gonna be, it's kind of like when they ride Guardians in the Guardians ride at Epcot, and it's like we don't know what song we're gonna get, so we're gonna ride it a bunch more times to see if we get this song or Conga or September or one of these songs.
Yeah.
So I really like that about it, like that they had multiple different endings. But then when you watch it at home, they show you all the different endings. They're like, well, this could have been it, or this could have been it, or this could have been it, but this is really what it is.
Oh,
So I
I
just really
see.
like that about it. I just think it's so fun, so playful. Not much else to say. It's Clue. It's a classic. But I'm glad I finally got to watch it. I hope Kelsey you get to watch it soon too, because it's really really fun. But
Yeah.
that's all I'll say about it because it does involve a lot of spoilers. But very fun,
Yeah.
very fun movie.
I do love a who done it, so I'll
Yeah.
definitely have to check it out. Um, my number 1 top final girl was one that I didn't see coming. I did not expect this. Just because going into it again, same thing with Your Next. I was like, I've seen this movie time and time again. I'm sure it's not going to be anything special, but just because of the choices that she makes and how this movie ends, like I was like, no, I think she was easily like the coolest final girl I've watched. And that is actually Sydney Sweeney's performance as Celia in Immaculate.
Whoa. Okay.
Because of immediately I started this movie and I was like, okay, this is like I feel like the knockoff version of the First Omen, and I love the First Omen. I think that that was such a good movie.
Yeah. They both
Um,
came out in the same month too, which is crazy.
that's crazy. Yeah, it's wild how that happens. And so I was like, this is the First Omen. Like this girl gets pregnant with like the Messiah or whatever. I mean, like the name of the movie is Immaculate, and if you know the Bible at all, then like obviously Immaculate Conception, you know where this is going. So she gets pregnant, and I'm like, okay, so what is she pregnant with the devil? Like the other girl was in the First Omen, but Sydney Sweeney really has to rely on herself the whole movie. She has one friend that she makes in the movie, and once she like speaks out and tries to be like, what's going on here? She's pregnant and none of us know why. This other girl just killed herself. Same beats as the First Omen. Like the one girl kills herself, throws herself off the tower. And she's like, and no one's like talking about this. Like this is all bullshit. What's going on? And then once she does that. They literally they take her and they cut out her tongue because she spoke out. It's really really freaky, really scary. And so she really only has herself to rely on. And on top of that, like she's pregnant, which is hard enough. I don't hear wonderful things about pregnancy. I hear it makes you sick. I hear it makes your ankles swell. It makes you tired. You're heavier now. You're carrying this bowling ball
Yeah.
attached to you. Like that's a horror movie for me within itself, pregnancy. But now on top of this, she has to survive the night. And I just think that after she gives, again, I'm going to talk about the ending. I'm so sorry. I'm going to
Okay.
spoil it. Um Not only does she survive everything, all the bad things that happen to her, but she then at the end of the movie gives birth in a field by herself, screaming at the camera, face full of blood, just like iconic, gives birth, rips the umbilical cord with her teeth because she has nothing else on her. She looks at whatever she gave birth to. You never see it, but whatever she gave birth to, she looks at it in horror and is like, yeah, this is not it. Takes a rock and fucking kills it. And I was like, that what you did, what the other girl in the first Omen was not strong enough or brave enough to do, which was kill this fucking demon spawn baby. And Sydney Sweeney's character knew exactly what needed to be done, and I just thought that that was fucking iconic, and it was a good performance. So she's my number one final girl of the
I love that.
13 Frights of Halloween final girl season.
Listen, when she's bad, but when she's good, she's good. You know,
Yeah.
she's you know what I
Well,
mean?
I feel like she just works way better in a drama setting. I think that
Mm.
obviously the only not great performance I've seen of her was in the romantic comedy she did with Glenn Powell. But first of all, that just also wasn't written that well.
No. Yeah.
And I just
I
don't
was like,
think that
yeah, yeah,
I
fair
just don't
enough.
think that she works in a comedy setting. I think that her thing is like these really profound and powerful performances in these dramas, these heavy, heavy dramas. So I think that's definitely what she should stick to. And so yeah, it was great. I
Very
enjoyed
cool.
it.
So my number one, and this is crazy because like this is a movie that as soon as I finished it, I was like, what? Like I don't really know how I feel about that, but it's one of those
Mm,
movies that I feel like because it's so much of a mind f, I think it's one of those things where I really think it's one that has festered and lingered on my mind. It's by the great late David Lynch. It's a movie called
mm,
Mulholland Drive, and this was a movie that Corey picked. Mulholland Drive is like kind of on a lot of critics' lists of like one of the greatest films of all time. It's like one of those movies that a lot of people point to as like this is the best of the best. And it
mm,
is kind of a horror movie. It's more of like a psychological thriller, noir, surrealist, neo-noir mystery. So I don't necessarily know if it belongs in the horror banner, which is why like Wreck is the scariest movie I watched this month, but like I do think Mulholland Drive is just the best movie. And that's the thing. Like, it's not even, I don't think, my favorite movie I watched this month either. Like, I think there are other movies I enjoyed more, but it's one of those movies that it's hard to even explain its plot. It's about this aspiring actress. She comes to LA. She meets this woman who has amnesia after a car accident. But like, there's all these little vignettes and little separate little mini stories throughout the film, but they all somehow connect at the end, and you're kind of wondering what is fake, what is real. It's one of those things that there is a twist, and you know there's going to be a twist. It's just trying to figure out what the twist is, and even when the twist comes and you kind of figure out what's going on, they never once spell it out to you. And I really like that about the movie because I think a lot of movies are very overt with like, here's what was going on the whole time. And like, we're going to lay it out for you and show you where the evidence was that you missed. But then some movies like this are like, you're at the end, you're like, wait, that's what was happening? Wait, okay, now I got to go through the whole movie in my head. It really,
mm,
really begs for rewatching. So I'm going to rewatch this soon. I just really loved how much it drew me in this first watch as is already. It is a movie though that I was incredibly frustrated by because the whole time I was trying to figure out what it was. And I think now that when I rewatch it, I'll just kind of let it wash over me. Because it is one of those movies that is kind of this hazy LA dream that you kind of just need to kind of piece together at your own pace. And there's some people who watched it 4 or 5 times and have still been trying to like piece it together. And there's people who nail it on the first go. And then David Lynch himself, who's like, I'm not telling you what it's about because what it's about to me is not going to be the same as it is to you. And I really like that about a director when he's like, I made it. It's now your job to interpret it. It's not my job to tell you what it's about. And I'm like, period. That's kind of fun. So, Mulholland Drive, it's not like I'm not quick to be like 5-star masterpiece as so many other people are. Like Ben Buffard, who we talked about earlier, who recommended the movie The Innocents. This is his favorite movie of all time. Like this is his number one, and it's one of those movies that is so many people's favorite movie. But I think it's because they've sat with it for so long and analyzed it. It's one of those movies that really begs analyzation, which I think is something that's so different than all the other movies on my list, which are these fun horror films, silly Halloween films. Like this is the one where it's like, no, this is a dense art film that you have to kind of pick apart beat by beat by beat. And it's just what makes it such an outlier, but I think it's a positive outlier. So I wanted to put this number one because I think right now I wouldn't be quick to rewatch it as quickly as other movies in terms of entertainment. But I do think if I go back and rewatch this movie, I could see this becoming one of the greatest movies in my estimation. So it's not an overwhelming recommendation in the fact that I think a lot of people are going to watch it and be annoyed and pissed off and kind of be like,
Mhm.
what is going on? How do I figure this out? But I think if you do kind of start to put the pieces together, I mean, I think a challenging movie is always so much fun. And if you want a challenging movie, this is by far a very challenging movie, but it's also just gorgeously made. Like there's so many great images in it that I think even on first view, like there were just so many moments that stuck out to me that I really hope with repeat viewings I'm able to sink even deeper into it. But Mulholland Drive is great. Corey, thank you for recommending it. But that's kind of it for now. It's hard to talk about without talking about like my interpretation of it, and to do that, it would spoil the whole movie. So I'm gonna kind of keep it very vague, but some really spooky, scary stuff going on for sure. But have you
Bill,
heard of
I
that
love
one, Kels?
I have heard of this just because I feel like it's like you said, talked about amongst like the best like scary movies of all time. I definitely see it on a lot of lists that also include like Lake Mungo because that
Mm,
movie talked to about a lot. I feel like in the horror space. I love how you're just been like team like I'm gonna let everyone like figure out what the movie's about. I'm gonna be vague and I'm like no, this is what happens at the fucking end. I'm just spoiling all these movies for people. But yeah, but I definitely want to check that one out just because, like I said,
yeah,
I definitely hear it talked about a lot in the
yeah.
horror space.
Cool. So those were our top three, bottom three of our respective movies and categories. But now, Kels, let's just give out a few superlatives. What was your scariest moment of these movies? Because I already talked about mine. It's the ending of Wreck. It's that final like 5 minutes where the camera's just sitting and she's trying not to breathe, and there's this monster just lurking around. And I did look it up. It's a group of firefighters who go into a building because there's a breakout of
Mm,
this epidemic. So it's not a hospital, but it kind of gives that vibe because everyone's sick and everyone's turning and getting sicker as the movie's going. So, but it's a bunch of firefighters that like take her into this space with them. Like, hey, come check this out with us. So it's a
yeah.
really cool, inciting incident. Um, but what's your scariest moment?
My scariest moment is a part of a movie that I also didn't like have a lot of I mean, I really didn't I hadn't heard of it before I made this list. But it's The Descent. I believe also from the year 2000, maybe 2001 or
Okay.
2002. Actually maybe 2005. Early
Hmm.
2000s. The Descent is about a group of women who go into a cave. They're like cavers, I think that's what they're called. And they essentially they get stuck there. So it's if you're like a person who it has problems with tight spaces, claustrophobia, like this would definitely be a really scary movie for you.
Mhm.
But I just love how it's about this group of friends who have to figure out a how to get out of this cave, and then b they realize that they're not alone in this cave, and it's not because there's other cavers with them, it's because there are these cave creatures who are starting to pick them off one by one. And there's also a little bit of a found footage moment or element almost throughout the film, is because they do take a video camera with them and kind of just they're recording their girls trip, their vacation that they're on. But then at one point the camera becomes their only source of light, so they start using the camera with its flash to see what's going on in the cave.
That's so
And so
cool.
you get that point of view with through their camcorder. So now it's like a little grainy. It's like black. I think it's almost like a night vision type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, and so the camera is now panning like the group of girls. One of the girls is holding it, like looking around the cave, making sure that everyone's okay. And then there's one moment where it pans the group, And once it pans back to the other side, you see one of the cave creatures like right behind, like right over the shoulder of the girl it's just like landed on. And it was just so like I wasn't expecting it at all, and I was just like, oh my god, like and I just thought that it was so creative because usually when a jump scare happens, like you get that music cue or that sound cue that like enhances it, but because it was happening in like virtual silence, like you only
Oh
heard
yeah.
like the dripping water like of the background of the cave, and like all of the girls kind of like chatting amongst themselves like, oh, is everyone okay, like what's going on. There's this moment of silence, and then boom, you just see the creature, and it's like through the camera lens. And I just thought that it was really really an effective choice, and stuck with me. And I was like, oh my god. Plus I feel like whenever it's like a creature feature, you never see the creature as clearly as you do these
Mm,
cave creatures, and they're really ugly and
yeah.
and slimy and gross, and they have these like sharp teeth and beady little eyes, and it just really freaked me out.
You know what's so fun is that I watched a movie by Neil Marshall, the same director, Dog Soldiers, which is his first movie, which is
Mm,
kind of where he got his budget for The Descent. I've not seen The Descent, so I really want to watch it. And you should watch Dog Soldiers because it's kind of, it reminds me of a similar thing you were saying where like the creatures they're so clear, you could see them so well, but they look so nasty and interesting. And like Dog Soldiers is about this like group of guys who go out. It's like a war games type thing, a military training program in the woods, and then they get
mm,
attacked by all these werewolves.
mm.
Actually, Dr. Owen Hunt from Grey's Anatomy is in it, Kevin McKidd.
Oh, cool.
But it's really he's like the lead of it, but it's really, really good, and I really like Neil Marshall's movies, so I'm really excited to check out The Descent because you've really sold it. Like just by that alone, I'm like, okay, I want to see this. So
Yeah.
maybe next year I'll have to add that to my list. Okay, cool. So that was our scariest moment. Our best kill. Do we have the same best kill? I wonder.
Is it in Terrifier?
Yeah, it
The
is. But I don't
Friend?
even want to say best kill because it's like I don't like it, but
No,
it
I don't
is
like.
definitely the most memorable and it is the most gnarly. But it's the saw, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Tell
it
us about it,
is.
Kels.
Oh my god, Dale,
I
I
mean,
couldn't
if you
even.
know Terrifier, you know what it
I,
is, you know?
I I couldn't even watch it like once. Okay, so you see the reveal that the friend has been kidnapped and now she's hanging by her ankles, and then
Naked.
once he naked, naked. Well, he takes off her underwear next. She's topless at first, and then he
Mm.
removes her underwear. And then as soon as I saw the saw in his hand, I was like, "Oh, absolutely not!" And I fully didn't watch it.
Oh, so you
I
don't even know what it
only
looked like.
no, because I knew what was gonna happen, and Dill even talking about it, I'm like literally, I'm clenching
Ugh.
every because to think about the and I don't like it.
Okay. The way you just did this
Yeah,
motion, though, I'm like,
yeah, because it's gnarly. These are just
yeah,
my hands. Like imagine, like I saw the aftermath of it, and I was
yeah.
like, that's enough for me.
Yeah,
That's enough.
Art the Clown was told about scissoring and totally took it the wrong way. Yeah, like he was like, no,
Ugh.
no, yeah, no. But that moment, and it's funny because there's a movie I watched for the retrospective a month or two ago. I will get my retrospective videos out in November, I promise. But there was a movie called Bone Tomahawk where it was a very similar one, but it was a man getting kind of sawed in half. So I guess they just love this gnarly effect. I think it's a good effect though, like in terms of the practical effects. Like it was an impressive makeup job to slice someone in half with a saw from their cooch all the way to their head. Um,
Yeah.
insane though, like insane. Like, and that's where the movie leveled up. Where I was like, okay, I can see why people think these are like awesome, just because it's not an awesome thing. It's gross. It's terrible. It's like an awful like objectification of women as well. But it is also like very memorable. And like if the kills are all this memorable, then like I get why this is like a heavy hitter franchise. But gross, gross, gross.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kels. Also, as a woman, just to have to live vicariously through that pain while watching it, I'm so sorry.
Like, yeah, it was gnarly. I'm
All
like,
right.
I felt like queasy. I couldn't watch it.
Yeah. Did you rewatch any movies this month or no?
No.
No,
No,
not at
I've
all.
made it my mission to make all of my horror watches new, which is
Mm,
why, like, I feel like I announced Final Girl season, and I was like, but don't expect any like Lori's or Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, obviously, these are the most iconic Final Girls of the Halloween season, but I'm really on a mission to see new stuff and get
yeah.
introduced to new horror. So I try not
Cool.
to rewatch.
Cool. I'll give a few shout outs for rewatches just because they were great and I liked them a lot more. I'm gonna give the ones that like I liked more than I did before. So like I'm not gonna talk about Halloween and Scream and It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which are all fantastic movies that I love, love, love so much. But
Yeah.
movies that like really grew on me, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Steven Spielberg. It's a movie I really liked the first time I saw it. I loved it even more. Coraline was scarier than it's ever been for me this year, which was really, really cool.
Mhm.
That was one Jacob recommended. K-pop Demon Hunters. The first time I saw it, I was like, "This is cool," and then every watch, I was like, "This is really cool." So thank you, Lori, for recommending that. And then the biggest one was Let the Right One In. My mom recommended that one. That one I had seen the American remake, Let
Mm.
Me In, and I really loved it. So when I watched the original, I was like, this isn't as good. But the more I rewatched this one, I'm like, okay, there are so many things that this does well that the Matt Reeves one doesn't, but vice versa. I think the Matt Reeves one does improve upon something. So I think they work really well together. So I really like Let the Right One In. That was a really great one. And then my dad picked Friday the 13th, which I used to hate, and I actually kind of really liked this time around. Not really liked, but I liked it a lot more this time around than I did the
S
first time. So
so did you watch the original from the '70s? Friday the
Friday the
13th?
13th, 1980, yeah, but the original
Oh,
one, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's what you watched too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you like it?
I thought that that one was, like, pretty silly goofy. It was
Yeah.
reminding me a lot of, like, Evil Dead,
Hmm. Hmm.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where I just feel like it's very chaotic and, like,
Yeah.
messy. I mean, like, Evil Dead definitely, like, leans into the camp more than any of the others, but I just don't think that I'm, like, an '80s slasher girl. I think that I prefer my horror movies with, like, just, like, a little bit more substance and, like, a little bit more, like, just
Well,
not much
you have
chaos.
the substance right there ready for you when you're ready. Um,
I know,
it's funny because
it's embarrassing.
I know the substance would have had your best performance, your best kill, and your best final girl, and your best what was the other one? Scariest moment, probably.
Scariest moment, yeah, I'm
Um,
sure. Which is
no,
why I was like, I'm gonna say the substance was on my list, and then Dill's gonna be like, "And why isn't she talking about it?" So I had to
yeah.
reveal that
You
I
know what?
didn't get to it.
For next time when we ask what movies you watch recently, maybe you make that a
Yes,
priority, and then we'll
absolutely.
talk about it, and I'll watch The Descent or something, so we can just talk about it. I don't know.
Would
I might
love.
not actually have time, but I'll find something to talk about that's new. They're playing Tron on the Mickey boat right now, so maybe I'll watch that, even though I doubt it'll be the best thing I watched. Even if it's the only thing I watched. All right, Kels, your best performance. What's going to be your best performance of this whole group of movies? Is it Sydney Sweeney?
It's on Sydney Sweeney. I thought that although I really liked the choices her final girl made, and obviously, like it was a solid performance from her. I alluded this while I was talking about it
Oh, that's
a
right.
little bit, but I think my best performance has to go to Samara Weaving. That's her name, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Margot
that
Robbie's doppelganger.
yeah, yeah. I think that she just had like this great balance between like these softer moments to like these harder moments, like balancing the comedy aspects in this film as well. Yeah, there was just something really strong about her performance that just made her really easy to root for. Even if I didn't agree with all the choices that her character made in the film, I knew I was like, oh, this feels like a really good lived in character that I'm just watching this girl go through something. I'm not watching like an actor act kind of thing. So it
Mhm.
was great.
Cool. My best performance is from a movie we haven't talked about yet. It was Matt's selection of Psycho 2.
Mm.
I'm picking Anthony Perkins because I really love what he did with Norman Bates, how he tried to make it the same character, but tried to give so much more nuance to it. It wasn't just this one guy, who was a psycho. He was trying to like go through his PTSD and his trauma and try to grow. And it was really cool that like they made a sequel where it was just like, kind of about a character trying to like forget his past and move on and be a good citizen, good Samaritan, and then also see him kind of eventually slip back into what the Norman Bates we know and kind of love. So I really, really liked just how different the performance was than I was expecting. The movie itself is just really, really interesting, and I really like that Matt recommended it because it's nothing like the first Psycho. And that's what I like about it. It really does try to pave new ground and try to do
Mhm.
something very different. And just the performance I thought was just so, so, so good. So Anthony Perkins is my favorite performance of all these 32 movies for sure. Yeah, and even in terms of the rewatches, like even looking at the rewatches, I'd still put this one above any of those. So, really, really great. Love his performance in Psycho 2. You've seen Psycho 2, correct?
Yes, I watched that last year for my
Nice.
sequels, prequels, and remakes.
Right.
And
Right.
I remember, like, feeling, like, pretty good about that one. I agree.
Mhm.
I think that they really, like, developed the character of Norman Bates, like, pretty good. They didn't just try to hit the same beats as, like, the
Mhm.
last, Psycho, just like, "Well, this worked, so let's just do that again."
Mhm.
So I agree. I
Yeah.
think that's a really solid pick for
Yeah,
performance.
I'm thinking next year for my 31 Days of Halloween, since we're kind of wrapping up now, but I really do kind of want my theme to be either like sequels, prequels, remakes, like you said, or like follow-ups, because I think it would be cool to see like a director like for example, like Coralie Farge, she did the film Revenge, which I watched this month, which was really, really good. But then she followed it up with The Substance, and that was like such a big,
Mm,
like, whoa, so amazing. So kind of like follow-ups where like a horror
mhm.
director, his or her second go would be really fun. So I think that might be my theme next year is like follow-ups, sequels, remakes,
Yeah.
rip-offs,
That's
anything
a
like
great
that.
idea,
But
too.
kind of loosely tied. All right, Kels, any other thoughts on Halloween? How was your Halloween itself? Was it good?
It was fine, I worked.
Okay,
I
there you
didn't
go.
have a crazy Halloween this year. You look like I was really impressed with your costume this year, Dill. That was really, really cute. The Roger Rabbit and, I
Thank you.
forget the other girl's name.
Yes,
Not
but
I
Jessica
I
Rabbit.
know Allie's name. I didn't
Yes.
know who she was for
Well
Halloween.
well, you know what's funny? Yeah, because Halloween on the Mickey boat, we've been doing Halloween since August or since September. So you do September and
Got it.
October is all Halloween. So like we've been doing Halloween for a while. Like I've had this hat for 2 months now, but
Mm.
for the
Mhm.
actual Halloween, there's like a crew wide Halloween party, and then like the night of Halloween, like the entertainment uh what do I want to say, entertainment branch, entertainment group, I don't know, our entertainment branch, yeah, we do our own little Halloween at the crew bar, but because Halloween fell on a Friday, which is like embark day, which is very difficult, we decided
Mm.
to do Halloween the day before, but then our crew wide party was the day before that, so I did basically 3 nights in a row of Halloween. So
Nice.
on the first night of Halloween, which was on the first night of Halloween, on the 29th, was our crew wide one where I did a Wicked group. So we had two Glindas. We had one that was movie Glinda, one that was Broadway Glinda. So one had like the bubbles in her hair, and the other was like the Ariana Grande look.
Mhm.
Two of my good friends, Mason and Connor, did the Glindas, and then we had a Scarecrow, Lion, Tin Man. I was the Lion,
Yes.
and then we had a Fiero as well. So it was kind of like a Wicked group. So we had the Fiero and the Scarecrow. It was kind of cool. We kind of like merged the Wicked and Wizard of Oz, and we
Totally.
found a Dorothy at the party because we didn't have a Dorothy, and then there was someone walking around in a Dorothy dress. We're like, hey, come with us.
Cool, cool.
And we didn't have an Elphaba, but our Scarecrow was gonna do it, and I was like, I'd rather do this. It's easier.
Yeah,
And
totally.
then the next night, obviously, Allie and I were Jessica and Roger Rabbit, which was really fun.
Jessica.
Yes, Jessica Rabbit. And then for actual Halloween, I had to work, but we do this party called Masquerade, which is where all the characters do a dance party on the top deck with the crowd, and you have to have greeters escorting them through the crowd to help make sure they're not knocking over kids and the kids aren't like pulling at like Pluto's tail or whatever. But
Yeah.
I got to be with the monks with Chip and Dale for Halloween, which is really fun. So I got to do a dance party with Chip and Dale, kind of with all the kids. It was really, really fun. So I'm just boogie in, it's Halloween night and I'm dancing with Chip and Dale in a
Yeah,
Halloween dance
yeah.
party. I'm like that
That's
that's the
awesome.
dream. That's the dream. So really, really, really fun Halloween this year.
So
Really
you
special.
also had to work on Halloween, but your work was entirely better than what I had to do.
My work was handing out candy to kids and then dancing with chipmunks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Way better than, serving tables like what I was
I'm
doing.
sorry.
No, you're
I'm
good.
sorry,
I'm
Kels.
happy for you, Jill. Sounds
It was
awesome.
fun. It was fun. It was fun. But we also have a new series to talk about.
Yes!
Um, an hour and 17 minutes in. We'll
Yeah.
be kind of brief because it is only 4 episodes, and I feel like the one complaint I have about this is like just make it a movie. Like, why is it 4 episodes? If they're all released on the same day, too, right? Because I was looking, they all got released on the same day, correct?
Yes, yes. They
So like
did.
what? Like, I'm like, why isn't it just a movie? That's the biggest confusion to me. I'm like, if it's all gonna be
Yeah.
released on September 24th, then just release it as Marvel Zombies as a movie, and also you could put it in theaters, get some money off of it. I mean, look at what
Mm,
K-pop Demon Hunters is doing. They literally were such a hit on Netflix that they said, you know what, we're putting it in theaters because it's gonna make money there, and it did. It broke box office records, and then they said,
right.
let's put it out again on Halloween, do a sing along, and again, it broke records. So I'm like, they could have put this in theaters. I thought it would have been a lot better as a
Yeah.
movie because it doesn't even end. I don't know. Well, let's talk about it because I
Right.
really
I
like it. I like it. It's
I
just I was frustrated by the choice of making it 4 episodes and then calling it a day.
No, I had a really fun time with this, Dill. I think, like, first and foremost, like, we have to acknowledge that Marvel Zombies is a continuation of the What If episode from season
Mhm.
one, What If Zombies, which I wasn't expecting. I thought that maybe it was just going to be like a whole new, like,
Oh,
uh,
interesting. Okay.
plot line, whole new universe. I wasn't expecting that. Also, something that I want to take note of, just because I really wanted to give credit where credit was due. So I did look into the creator, which is Zeb Wells. He was the creator behind Deadpool and Wolverine and
Mhm.
She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
Cool.
So I was like, whoever was like this creative with these characters and these beats and this moments and like where all these characters would be at. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, this person, like, I have to shout this person out. So it was a direct continuation of the Zombies What If episode. So I just wanted to quickly talk about that episode real quick, just so we're caught up on like where we're at with these
Mhm.
characters. So essentially what happens is, like, the zombies outbreak is happens basically instead of like the blip happening. Is That's where we are at in the timeline, because the What If episode starts with Bruce going back to planet Earth, going to warn everyone about Thanos, the way that Infinity War starts. But instead of warning everyone about Thanos, there's been this huge zombie outbreak. All of these people are already zombies. Tony's a zombie, Doctor Strange, Wong, um, and they're all killed. And essentially, how the zombie outbreak happened was Janet contracted a like quantum virus while she was in the quantum realm, and when Hank went to save her, he also got the virus, came out of the quantum realm, and started spreading it that way. So really ground zero, and we see this later on in one of the episodes. I think episode 2 was San Francisco, California, which
Mhm.
now we saw how that affected Shang and Katie as well in the
Right.
series. So because of this outbreak from the quantum realm, that's where we all got started. And so we kind of cut to like a few months later, where the some of the Avengers kind of have a handle on it, but not really. So we see this team of Spider-Man, Okoye, Kurt, Happy, Bucky, and Hope. They and also Sharon Carter. They save Bruce. And then they get a message from Camp Lehigh claiming that someone has a cure for the outbreak. So they go there. In order to get there, they have to take a train to New Jersey. And so we see Hawkeye and Falcon as zombies. They kill Happy. Okoye kills Falcon. Captain America is there. He kills Sharon. And Bucky not kills Cap, because we see Cap come back later in the episode, but he like slices him in half with the shield. Hope gets killed by Sharon, because Hope actually flies into Sharon's zombie body, expands into a full person, gets the cut on her arm, starts to die. Then the whole reveal happens in the episode, where once they get to Camp Lehigh, they realize that it's been um that Vision and Wanda are there, and that Vision has been luring people to Camp Lehigh to keep feeding Wanda because she has been infected. He doesn't have the heart to kill her. And then Okoye is uh, tells them that they need. Oh yeah, and then Scott Lang is a floating head, as we
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
He's saved somehow, but just from the head down, he gets Doctor Strange's cape. Okoye says that then the only place that they can go is Wakanda, because they'll be safe with their force fields there. Okoye is killed by Wanda. Vision just fully commits suicide. He rips the Mind Stone out of his head and then gives it to the survivors, which are and then Bruce realizes that as the Hulk, he can't really get bit. So he kind of just like hulks out and like starts taking on all these
Mhm.
zombies. So he gets stuck at Camp Lehigh. Only T'Challa, Peter, and Scott are able to get away on a Quinjet, and they start their trek to Wakanda, which is how the
Yeah.
zombies, the What If episode ends. And that's kind of where we pick up later on, I think, in
Episode
episode
3. Yeah.
episode 3. But
Mhm.
starting with episode 1, we see how Riri Williams, Kamala Khan, and Kate Bishop have all teamed up in New
Mhm.
York. They're scavenging together in the city. A Quinjet crash lands where they are, and they go to investigate it to see if there are any survivors or if they can get any equipment from it, any ammunition or anything useful like that. Riri has also rigged an Iron Man suit to help them out. And so she's kind of been using Friday as like a second line of defense to help them wherever they go. So I guess it's been like alluded, and later on it gets alluded to that she kind of took this suit off of Tony Stark's like zombie corpse, which is I thought was like pretty badass. Also, Riri Williams, I feel like excellent person to have in a zombie apocalypse. She is
Yes.
just so smart and inventive with all of her weapons and everything.
Mhm.
I would definitely want her on my team.
Right.
Um, so they realize that there is a zombie who is manning this Quinjet. I don't think it was a character we recognize. It looked like an NPC, a non-playable character, but they realize that he has a device in him that looks like it might be pretty important because he swallowed it in order to protect it.
Mm.
And so they rip this device from him. Um, and they realize that they need uh they say it's like a transmitter from space, and Hawkeye is there in the city and starts attacking them with bows and arrows, and Kate is able to get a trick arrow from him that like ricochets off the building, and she's like, sick, I'll keep this for later. And so they realize, okay, also what I like to do in this series is say who's voiced by the original actor and who's
Yeah.
not. So
Yes.
we have the key players: Amon Villani, Dominique Thorne, who's Harley, Haley Steinfeld, can't read my own handwriting, and Carrie Condon as Friday,
Mhm.
and obviously all the other actors as their respected characters. And they realize they need a shield motherboard to read the transmitter that they just received. So they need to make their way to Ohio because that's apparently the only one left in
Mhm.
existence. And so they realize that what's on the transmitter is a program called Project Life Shot, which is a last ditch effort to save the planet from the zombie plague. So they're like, we need to read the rest of this message so that we can save everyone. So, and then we also see Okoye. He's basically the general of Wanda's army of zombies. And you know that they're Wanda's zombies because they all got the glowing red eyes
Mhm.
that um, the Scarlet Witch has. Okoye is not voiced by,
Tonight Guerrero.
yes, she is voiced by Kenna Ramsey.
Hmm.
Um, Fun fact. So Kamala, Kate, and Riri journey to Ohio, and there's this huge valley where there shouldn't be, almost as if a giant thing like made a giant footprint in this like mountain. So they decide to drive through that, and they realize that there is like a bunch of lightning above them, and there's this huge crazy storm above them.
Mhm.
And they realize that the lightning is actually two people fighting, blasting their different powers at them. And these two people are Captain Marvel and Icarus from Eternals.
Yeah.
And so there are these two beings that are destined to keep fighting each other, but because they're both equally matched, they can't kill each other. So oh yeah, so we I was really shocked to see how like quickly we kind of like said goodbye to some key players here. I thought like, these three were going to be like our main
Yeah.
protagonists rather the whole
Mhm.
show, but we see that Kate tries to get Captain Marvel with the trick arrow she has, but it ends up just being like a confetti cannon, so it doesn't do anything, and then she is immediately like blasted to smithereens by
Mhm.
Captain Marvel. And then we see Riri Williams get bit, and so she instructs Friday to save Kamala so that she can continue going to Ohio. And so Friday flies her away from the battle and says, I lost one. I lost one boss, I'm not going to lose another, and then goes back for Riri. So it's alluded that Riri might have died,
Mm.
but also might not have. We'll talk.
Yeah, very
Um,
interesting though. Like I feel like it's this is kind of where it does feel like very Walking Dead, where it's like,
mm,
oh yeah, like our main characters are not our main characters, they're gone. I
yeah,
really like that about this show, and because it's again, you have so many actors who are their roles, so many that aren't. It's really easy to just kind of get them in the booth for a day or two, but some actors have different conflicts of scheduling, so it's nice that they can kind of just be like, all right, who is around? Okay, you're not. You're only around for a few hours. All right, we'll kill you off. Like it much feels like you can kind of be very malleable because it's also animated, so you can kind of make it up as you go type deal. Like it doesn't necessarily need to be like this long committed shooting schedule. So I
yeah.
really like that they're able to just kind of like have characters come and go so quickly. It also gets more faces in there, more people, and that way you don't have to share the spotlight. It doesn't feel like there's too many people battling for it either.
Yeah, it also just felt like an opportunity for them to kind of make these really tough, like shocking deaths. Like if like they would never do this in a movie where they introduce us to someone, even especially if it was a character we've been waiting for or just got introduced to. Like we would never, there would never be an instance where they die in like the movie that they first get introduced in. So it kind of felt like their time to be like, you know what, like we're turning this all on its head. We're giving people, like we're throwing people with the unexpected. And yeah, like you just got Kate Bishop, no more, not
Hmm.
in it for the rest of
Yeah.
the series. Like, and so I was like, damn, like they're really going for it with this series. Like they're not holding back at all. um but we get introduced to a new player, someone that we haven't seen in a movie or a TV show yet because it is postponed indefinitely, and that is Blade, who I was shocked to find out was not voiced by Marshala Ali because it
Hmm.
sounded so much like him. He
And
is
they designed the look after him too, I believe. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually voiced by an actor by the name of Todd Williams, and I was like, damn, he's doing a great Marshala Ali. And Blade is actually the new avatar for Khonshu. So
Yeah. So
he's
he's
kind of
Blade Knight, right?
yes, Blade
Or
Knight.
Moonblade. Blade Knight? Is that what they're calling him?
I actually have no idea.
I think Blade Knight sounds better than Moonblade, but I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's Blade Knight. And so he finds Kamala on her journey to Ohio and agrees to take her there because Khonshu is this, no all-knowing being and is like, yeah, like we'll help her do this because this will lead to, saving the world. Um, so he takes her to the Shield base in Ohio, and we find out that Melina from Black Widow is kind of the director of this base and has figured out a way to use her mind control um, device that she uses in Black Widow to control the zombies and keep them at bay. So she kind of just uses them as camouflage to hide the facility from everyone else, but they don't attack because they're under her control. And we find out, oh, we also, Yelena and Alexi are also there, all voiced. Yelena is voiced by Florence Pugh. Alexi
Mhm,
is voiced by David Harbour. Melina is voiced by Kari Wall-Grin, which is, I believe, who's been voicing Melina for all of these projects. It's never
mhm,
been voiced by Rachel Weisz. We find out that the transmitter is from the Nova Corps and that they have a cure to save the world. So the next move is to get access to a spaceship to actually get to the Nova Corps for help. Um, and they reference this incident in the first two episodes known as the Wakanda event that we
mhm.
don't know about yet. But essentially some huge event took place in Wakanda, and now like all the radio waves are off, and basically all the satellites of Earth have been like shattered. So there's no way to actually get in touch with the Nova Corps on Earth. You have to go to space to get to them. Um, cat as it happens in zombie movies, the zombies start infiltrating. Oh yeah, because Okoye shows up. Okoye and her army of Wanda zombies arrives to the base, looking for Kamala specifically. And Melina tries to fight them off by using her mind control, but she is no match for the Queen of the Dead,
Mhm.
Wanda. And so she is killed. Alexei has his one-on-one battle with Captain America, who has been split in half. So he's able to overpower Cap. Ghost is there as a zombie, and there's this really great fight between Ghost and Blade, where Ghost keeps phasing, and Blade is just like unstoppable with his blade, and he's able to kill Ghost. And like I said, Okoye kills Melina, and that is the end of episode 1.
Mhm.
Episode 2, like I said, we start on the day that the outbreak happened. We're in San Francisco, California, seeing it through the eyes of Shang and Katie, who are running through the streets of San Francisco. PIM technology is going crazy. Zombies are getting huge. Bugs are getting huge. People are shrinking down, growing because the laboratory has just been taken over by zombies. Shang is voiced by Simu Liu. Katie is voiced by Aquafina. And Jimmy Woo is also there, voiced by Randall Pack. Randall Park. Sorry, Randall
Park. Yep.
Park. And so when Wu, Shang's father shows up to save Shang, he comes with the 10 rings just to save Shang. And Shang is like, no, we have to help everyone. And because of that split second hesitation he has, Shang is bit by a zombie from behind. But when Wu gives him the 10 rings to save him, because it stops the spread of the zombie virus from his
Yeah.
arm from the rest of his body. So
Which
now
is
he's kind
cool.
of, yeah,
Yeah,
really,
I
really
like
cool.
how a lot of the like Marvelisms are ways to kind of get around everyone just getting infected and getting bit. Like the Hulk being able to Hulk out, or Wenwu being able to put the 10 rings on Sean's arm. Like I like a lot of those little choices that like, okay, you're incorporating now the Marvel of it all. It's not just using Marvel characters as just regular characters. You're using Marvel for what their characteristics are, and using them in a clever way, which I thought was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Dale, which is why I was so impressed by like the story and how they didn't make it so it was like happening in like present day Marvel, how they were using like
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
events of like they started in Infinity War and then worked their way through there.
Mhm.
Because then we also are gonna see like a zombie Thanos later, which is like fucking crazy. I couldn't imagine. I also feel like a zombie Thanos would actually be easier to beat than a regular Thanos, but we'll
Interesting.
get there
Yeah.
when we get there.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, so his father sacrifices himself to save Shang, and Death Dealer is also there and is able to save Shang, Katie, and Jimmy Woo. And then we fast forward 5 years later. So that made me think of that end game moment when we were all sitting
Mhm.
in the theaters, screen went black 5 years later. And I was like,
Yeah.
damn, like this is the
Triggering.
version of this is an alternative blip, really. Um, and so they've kind of like figured out the zombie apocalypse. They hear about this civilization that is one of like the only, they say there's only like 8 places left to live in the world, and this is one of them, this city on the sea. But you need to bring an offering and able to get selected to live on the city. So they bring a bunch of cows, while trying to join the civilization. They also run into Alexei, Kamala, Blade, and Yelena. Um, and the leader of this civilization is Baron Zemo, who, as we know, hates the Avengers and hates superheroes. So this is going to work out well for them, right? And his right hand man is none other than John Walker, because he'll just team up with whoever he deems is the most powerful in that moment. So John Walker is voiced by Wyatt Russell, and Zemo is voiced by an actor by the name of
Hmm.
Valori, probably Valori. Um, so the city on the sea is actually revealed to be the Raft, which is the prison that the high security prison that we've seen some of our Avengers sent to, and definitely
Mhm.
some of our villains as well. Um, and life is seemingly too good to be true on this raft. There's like plenty of food. They tell Alexei he can have as much as he wants. Everyone gets their own bed, and we find out that, oh, they address Blade's vampirism, and he says that he doesn't drink blood anymore. He's like, that's not me. which I don't know a ton about Blade. So it was really interesting being
Right.
introduced to him like through this context. And I'm
Mhm.
just really hoping that that movie comes to be. I mean, it's looking pretty hopeless, but
I think
damn.
the fact that they put him in this though gives a little more hope that it's gonna happen. Like, and they've made
Yeah.
him Mahershala Ali. They could have done the Wesley Snipes Blade or done a generic Blade, but the fact that they like
Yeah.
designed him after Mahershala Ali means like Mahershala Ali is the Blade of this universe. It's just gonna take time to happen, you know?
Right. How do you feel about him being Moon Knight instead of having Mark Spector or Stephen Grant? Do you miss
Yeah, I
him
don't know.
too?
I think maybe just for the action's sake, they wanted Blade in there, and they thought it'd be kind of a fun. I think what if they're just trying to do as many different little switches and things that they can.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I don't know. I think also they made it very clear that they want Moon Knight to kind of be its own thing, very disconnected from the rest of the MCU. So maybe they were just trying their best to make sure Moon Knight wasn't getting involved with the other Avengers because they never want to do that. But I don't know, yeah, I think it's just cool to have Blade there.
Yeah.
Again, because it is a new character, we get a little bit more from him, like, we've already gone through the Mark Spector of it all, and maybe there's room for him to come in still in the 2nd season, even though he's no longer Khonshu's avatar, you know what I mean? So, I don't know.
Yeah. I was just gonna say though, I do think that when Kamala Kamala, Kamala Khan, Kamala Harris. Kamala first meets Blade. I think he does say like his first avatar was killed, and I think that's why Blade took over
Mhm,
for Mark Spector because I think they allude to the fact that he is dead in this zombie
mhm,
apocalypse, which sucks because I don't think Mark Spector. I think it would take a lot more than a zombie apocalypse, especially with Jake Lockley living in him as well.
right, right,
Come on, a zombie horde doesn't stand a chance. So not only are they not safe on this raft because Zemo is secretly sacrificing citizens of the raft to feed the zombies in the sea, the said zombies in the sea are Namor and the citizens of Talokan that we met in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So not just a very, very powerful zombie. So he sacrifices Alexei, Yelena, Blade, and Kamala, and Shang, Katie, Jimmy, Woo, and Death Dealer plan on saving them because they're like, this is wrong. We can't just be sacrificing people on the ship just to keep the zombies at bay. So Namor and the zombies end up breaking into the raft, and Yelena is the one to stay behind to release the remaining Avengers in like a kind of like life raft kind of thing that like it detaches from the raft. So she saves Alexei, Blade, Kamala. Holy shit. Now I'm gonna keep doing that.
it's okay, it's very valid since we had to pronounce that name quite often last year as well.
Right.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
Kamala, Kamala Khan, Zemo is there, but I think John Walker dies. Or maybe no. John Walker dies in New Asgard. So John Walker's there. The remaining Avengers are saved, but obviously Alexei does not deal with the fact that Yelena sacrifices herself. And let me just say, like, David Harbour gives a really great performance in this. Like it's so clearly something that, it's voiceover, it's this 4 episode like Marvel offshoot. Like there was no reason for him to go as hard as he did. But like I really felt like the anguish in this moment where he's saying goodbye to Yelena and the torment that he was going through. And I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like this is tough. I'm getting sad. I'm
Yeah.
getting
Also,
emotional.
because of all these like different like amalgamations of characters and crisscrosses, like their relationship I think is the most established of any in this show, where like
Hmm.
we really know what their relationship is because we've now seen it through not just Black Widow but Thunderbolts as well. To where I do think like these random pairings don't really hold much value, but like this is not a random pairing. This is like a genuine one inside the MCU as well. So I think it just adds a little bit to it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So essentially, they start their journey to New Asgard because they hear that that is where they can get access to a spaceship. Episode 3, we are back with Peter, T'Challa, and Scott. And Peter takes us through the moments that immediately happened when they got to Wakanda. And so essentially they get there and Wakanda has been completely taken over by zombies. Zombie Thanos is there and he only needs the Mind Stone left in the gauntlet. So they fight him for it. And just when they think that they are about to be defeated, Thor, Rocket, and Groot show up, a la Infinity War, Stormbreaker in hand, eye patch on, and they are immediately taken out by zombie Thanos. It was tough to watch, Rocket's raccoon skull be,
Yeah.
kind of tumble in the dust post
Yeah, we
blast.
haven't really talked about it, but, like, it's very gruesome. This
Yeah.
series is very gruesome, they don't hold back, which is probably why it's animated. There were
Hmm.
times where I was like, "I wish this was live action just so we could see these actors do these things," but you get
Yeah.
more characters if it's animated because you can fake the voices, if you need
Yeah.
to, and then also you can make it a lot bloodier and gorier and still get away with putting it out there on Disney Plus, so, but I really liked it, I really did.
Yeah. No, yeah. And it's just like watching moments like this where you're just like, it again, like another shocking twist where it's like, oh, Thor came in there and then everything was fine, and then it was like absolutely not fine. So
Mhm,
then the only way to take out zombie Thanos after he does get the Mind Stone, T'Challa does sacrifice himself by pushing zombie Thanos into the kind of like cavities of vibranium they have, like the reactors that they have underneath Wakanda that powers everything. And because they land in one of these vibranium cores with the entire gauntlet, with all 6 Infinity Stones, there is this giant blast that we now know is the Wakanda event. And Scott and
Peter.
Peter are saved by the surviving members of Kamar Taj. So now they are forming a plan to take out Wanda, the Queen of the Dead, because she has been trying to get to this mysterious figure who is at the center of the Wakanda event. We obviously know who that is now, but we don't know in this moment. So Alexei, Kamala, Katie, Shang, Zemo, and John get to New Asgard, and Alexei is depressed, but Kamala gives him this like pep talk and says, "We're going to honor Yelena with every breath we take. We have to continue the fight, or else, everyone, all of these deaths, all of our friends dying, it's all in vain. So we have to keep going."
Mhm.
They get to New Asgard, and Valkyrie greets them at the door and basically tells them to fuck off. She first asks them if they're there for the feast because they keep alluding to this magnificent feast that they're supposed to be having. And they try to lie their way in, but it doesn't work. And eventually, she tells them that only gods are welcome in New Asgard. And because they have Blade with them, who is Khonshu, the moon god, he presents himself to Valkyrie and she lets them inside. Valkyrie is voiced by Tessa Thompson, and Khonshu is voiced by F. Murray Abraham from Moon Knight.
Mhm.
Um, so we see Thor was not killed by the blast from Thanos. He is just a little disfigured and pretty broken up about it that he couldn't save everyone. And he's basically in a depression of his own, not talking to anyone, not engaging,
Mhm.
won't talk to Kamala about anything. Kamala. And Valkyrie says that Valkyrie reveals that they got their feast from the Queen of Sokovia, which Zemo says Sokovia doesn't have a queen. And Valkyrie says, yeah, they do. It's Wanda Maximoff. And everything is immediately flipped in that moment. Tensions rise because they all know that she is the Queen of the Dead. Um, but Wanda reveals herself to be completely fine. She is not the zombified Scarlet Witch that we've seen before. And I was shocked to hear that Wanda is voiced by Elizabeth Olsen, who I thought was very much done with this company. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, what do
but
you think about that, Kels?
I guess a paycheck is a paycheck. I mean,
Right.
I'm glad, like, it obviously, like, any voice actors are very talented, especially if they're impersonators, they can take on like any
Right.
role and do their best with it. But there's something so specific and unique about Elizabeth Olsen voicing this role. Like, it's just so intentional. It's very Wanda in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where she just has these very like whispery moments where she just gets quiet and like starts like really enunciating everything. So I think that it was definitely a really strong choice to have Elizabeth Olsen a part of it, just because she can just get so menacing as
Yeah.
Wanda. So I was really happy to hear that it was her.
Yeah.
So basically, Wanda says that she needs a team because she needs to take out this person who is harboring all of this power for themselves from the Infinity Stones. And she's like, I need a team of gods. And the big reveal comes where she releases her illusion that she has over this feast that she's brought to them. And all of these gods and very powerful beings in New Asgard have been eating zombie guts and zombie parts. And one of the people that has been chowing down the most has unfortunately been Alexei. So we know that his time is coming soon. And she says that she needs Kamala like more than anyone. She's like, oh, I'm so happy you're here. Like, you can help me out with this. And so she really takes an interest in Kamala Khan. But Kamala is not having it. She's like, no, you're evil. You're the queen of the dead. I'm trying to fight you. You've killed all my friends. Like, I'm like, don't try to talk me into anything because I'm not listening. So they basically have to now escape this feast and New Asgard now that all of these gods and powerful beings are being transformed into zombies. We see that Zemo is killed, John Walker is killed, Death Dealer is killed pretty brutally in saving Jimmy Woo, which was cool to see his character come up again. It's also, he's obviously a very powerful character. So again, another person that I'd want to have by my side in a zombie apocalypse.
Yes.
And even though they're trying to bring Alexei with them to go to space because they're so close to like a cure and getting to the Nova Corps that they think they can save him, but it's too late for him. He transforms into a zombie and they have to leave him behind. They load into the Commodore, which is the ship that we saw in Thor Ragnarok, the Grandmaster's spaceship. But Wanda tries to stop them, but Thor fights Wanda so that they can escape. And Kamala Khan says that like, you're the last Avenger. Like, we need you. Like, don't sacrifice yourself. Like, come with us. And Thor, who is not voiced by Chris Hemsworth, bizarrely enough, I guess he wasn't available for this, is voiced by Greg Furman, who does a great Chris Hemsworth Thor.
Yeah.
And he officially makes Kamala Khan. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Kamala Khan an Avenger. He officially makes her an Avenger and says, like, no, like, you don't need me. Like, you're strong enough. You can do this. And so they fly out into space in the Commodore, and they put the transmitter on they use a transmitter to call the Nova Corps, and they immediately get a response, which Valkyrie thinks is weird because she's like, usually that takes a lot longer. And it is revealed that the Nova Corps has been stationed right outside of Earth, so they know everything that's been going down, and that they're not there to help them. They're there to make sure that no one leaves because the planet has been quarantined. And that they need to return back to Earth or else they will be blasted out of the sky. So that is our major plot twist in this series. And I was like, damn, like, as much as I hate that, like, the Nova Corps, like, they're so smart for that. You know, you don't want this zombie plague like, expanding through the galaxies and all the planets and everything. Which brings us to our last episode, episode 4. Getting to the almost a 2-hour mark here. And thanks for sticking with us and being here. So they are blasted out of the sky, but Kamala Khan is able to save them using her powers from her bangle, which has also been coming a lot in handy a lot throughout the series, like
Yeah.
having her like shields and being, but she's able to keep a lot of the zombies at bay using her powers.
Mhm.
And so they start falling from the sky and they are saved by the members of Kamartaj. And basically, they ask them to join in their fight to protect the Hulk, who has embodied like all of the Infinity Stones and has been basically like been like a kind of like a nucleus for all of this power that was released from the blast from the Infinity Stones. And so now he's there, and now all Wanda will have to do is like touch him in order to get all of that power from the Infinity Stones, making her more powerful than ever. So they are trying to stop this as best they can. And so for some reason this isn't in Wakanda, this is in Paris.
Yeah.
Somehow he got to Paris. I don't
Mhm.
remember how. Um, so, oh yeah. Also, one of the beings that I didn't realize was him was Abomination. He came up in, I think he was in the last episode we saw him for the first time. But Abomination is a part of the Army of the Dead, and so the Wanda and her army of zombies gets to um Hulk and basically start to take him out. But he's very powerful. He's holding his own for quite some time, but then the
Yeah.
rest of the team shows up to fight by his side. I wrote down a Conchu blade sword moment. Sexy exclamation point. And I think it's because there was this moment where Blade had his sword, and as it passed Blade's face, you saw Conchu's reflection in it. And
That was cool.
I was like, ooh, that was good. It's like moments like that with like animation that you can really make, like that detailing, where you could execute something like that live action, but I just think that obviously it just like looks cleaner and cooler in an animated setting. Um, so we see all of these different zombies, and now all of the Avengers that she's made zombies, like Zombie Alexi, Yelena and John are there. We see Zombie Death Dealer and Jimmy Woo. We see a zombie Thor, who there's this Hulk Thor fight, which is very reminiscent of what happens in Thor Ragnarok with the Grant on Sakaar with the Grant Master. But we do see that Hulk smashes Thor's face in, so he gets killed. Blade gets destroyed, which was a tough loss because he was
Mhm.
also a key player in all of this.
Yeah, it
And
feels like all the people that are gonna be main characters, like Alexi and then Blade, like, they
yeah,
really are taking out people who were just the main character of the last one, and then they're gone, you know? Very
right.
interesting.
The only one left is Kamala Khan. Really, she was like
Mhm.
our main protagonist and like the one person who was able to survive the whole time. We see like everyone's there's a moment in battle where everyone's kind of starts losing it. We see Shang starts getting eaten, Valkyrie gets killed, and Wanda is able to get to Bruce. And I said in the stupidest way, she gets inside him. Oh, because it's like there's like all this fighting with the zombies, and she's like kind of like really far back, like in the distance. But then all of a sudden, we see this shot of Hulk. We see like a shot of Kamala Khan, and then all of a sudden, like Wanda just like appears next to Hulk, and it's like I feel like she could have just done that the whole time. Like I don't know. I just thought that it was just like it was really convenient that she was able to get there. And so while she's like accessing this power that she's getting from Hulk, she starts really getting in Kamala's head and is like, I need you, like I'm gonna make all of this right. Like we're gonna start over. I need you to help me with this. Just take my hand. Everything will get better, and we'll save the world. And it's almost like I can't tell, it, like I can't tell if I believe Wanda or if like she's
Right.
just been severely misunderstood. Maybe she's just doing a really good job of not only gaslighting Kamala Khan but me as well. Because part of me is like, like is she trustworthy? I can't tell. But Kamala ends up taking her hand, and then she wakes up in her room. And it's as if nothing happened. Her parents are there. She gets Boba with Riri and Kate, who are back. And she's like, wow, I can't believe like everything's back to normal. Like, this is crazy. But then the dreams like state that she's in starts to crack. And we see that there are zombies around her, and that Riri is actually fighting in the distance and trying to wake her up out of it. And she's saying, like, Kamala, can you hear me? None of it's real. Don't listen to this. Like, wake up. And that is how the episode ends. And I did notice that where she was bit, because first of all, when she gets bit all the way back in episode 1, she has her own kind of like remedy. It seems like
Mhm.
she's like, oh, this isn't how I wanted to test this, but she like injects it into her arm, and then we see her in this last moments that she has like an Iron Man arm that's been attached to her.
Mhm.
So this makes me think that Riri is very much alive, because I was like, no
Yeah.
body, no death. We didn't see
Right.
Riri go, so I think she's alive.
Yeah. But,
And
like, what does this matter though, Kelsey? Is there gonna be a
yeah,
second season? Do we know? Or is this just it, you know?
I don't know. I really hope that there is a continuation of the story, because right now, if you look on IMDb, it is just listed as a mini series, and it
Mhm.
says like 2025. Usually, when there's going to be more episodes,
There's a
there's like the
dash.
dash. So I hope there's more, because I
Yeah.
was really into it, and I have so many questions, and I want to know if
Yeah.
they save the world.
I think that's what's so frustrating is it kinda just ends with this whole, like if it wants to end with the whole, like, it was just a dream after all type thing, or if it wasn't that reality, fine, but then you, like, tease us with, "Oh, it is," but it's like but that feels like it's going somewhere to where this felt like it could have been a penultimate episode,
Yeah,
or they just botched the ending because it really sucks 'cause going up to it, I agree, I liked it a lot, like, I think it was fun how, like, our cast of main characters kept changing, and it wasn't this solidified group, and, people were coming and going. I thought the horror was great, I thought Wanda was great, like, I loved a lot of it. It just it was very frustrating that it felt like it amounted to nothing in a way, which is really, really upset. Like the whole "it was just a dream" thing is annoying as is, but
yeah,
like then to backtrack on it, but then not deliver on that either. Like I was just like, oh yeah, it was a very disappointing ending to where like this could have been like my favorite. So just so everyone knows, Wonder Man got canceled. So in December, we're going to be doing a ranking of Phase 5, but then also a ranking of everything that came out this year in 2025. So I think this could have easily been the best project of 2025 had it stuck the landing. But I
yeah.
think there's something else that would go above it for me. But yeah, like this is very upsetting, this ending. But
Yeah, it's just I have so many questions. I want to know like what Wanda's intentions were. And
yeah.
also, one of the things that I wrote down, I was like, Marvel wants Wanda to be a villain so bad. Like they did it with WandaVision, they did it again with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and now they're doing it again with this. And I'm like, what? I'm like, why? Like
Yeah, I
why?
wonder if I wonder if they wanted to commit to that with Doctor Strange, and people were so mad that she was a full villain, so they're like, "We're gonna double down, and we're gonna make sure every time you see her, she's a villain. Just like every
Mm,
time you see Loki, he's gonna be a hero." Like I think
mm,
that's their thing is like they want to sell her merch as a villainous merch, but I don't know if it's working. I don't know. It also is weird because like we said, like Elizabeth Olsen wanted out, but she's back in now. But is it just because
yeah,
it was an easy, quick paycheck? Quick job. Um, did she record this already in past contract? And it
sure,
just took a
yeah.
while to get out because it could have been recorded a while ago. So I
That's
don't really
true.
know. But yeah, I just wish it stuck the landing better. But I liked it. I mean, I thought this was a good series. It's just I have so many questions, but I'm like, are we even gonna ever have them answered? Who knows?
Because here's the thing, like I don't mind Wanda being a villain. I think that she's really, really interesting, and like obviously has like all of these layers. It's just that then there needed to be a different ending of
Mhm.
WandaVision. There needed to be a version where she didn't fix, or like she tried to fix it and then everything just got worse. Like maybe if she just like abandoned the city of Westview, and like everyone like woke up one day and was like, what the hell was all that? And maybe she was just like gone, and now she's been like trying to get to Tommy and Billy, because that was her whole arc in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Like if there, I don't know, I just think that
Yeah. Yeah.
because she solved what she did in Westview and kind of like came to terms with the fact that like, yeah, I had a little bit of a freak out because of my grief and I really shouldn't have done that. Sorry, everyone. But then to like double back and become a villain again, like it's just like her arc has just been like fumbled a little bit. And so
Yeah.
if they were going to commit to this villain arc for her, I just wish that they planned it out a little bit better in the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, Marvel Zombies was great, and I wish there was more to the story, and I hope there's more to the story.
Yeah. Maybe this is setting up they're gonna do a film. Like I again, I think this
Mm,
serves it so much better for a movie. Like the episodic of it all, like I think you could have still had the great cliffhangers and effects with a film, just have
yeah,
twists. That's what it is. It's like cliffhangers in film is just twists. So
totally.
I wish they had just committed to that. But especially because it was the same director, same writers, same date of release, same animation style. I'm like, there's nothing that separates these except for each of the episodes kind of starts with a flashback. That's kind of it. But you can have
Right.
flashbacks dispersed throughout films. Anyway, that's their problem. That's their structure. Whatever. I think if you had said we're doing a Marvel Zombies movie, I think people would have been a lot more into it. But I don't know. Maybe because it's animated, they didn't want to make it like 2 hours, so they had to split it up in the episodes. I don't really know.
Mm.
But otherwise, Kels, anything else? I mean, this is a really fun Halloween chat. Ending with some Marvel Halloween chat. I mean, this was a really great meaty episode we did here. And like I said, in December we're going to be ranking all of Phase 5, because that phase is complete now. We're going to be ranking the movies of Phase 5, and then for the last episode of December we're going to be ranking every project of 2025. So that includes the movies in Phase 5 that we got. That also includes Fantastic Four, which is a movie in Phase 6. That also includes all these series, so Daredevil, Born Again, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Marvel Zombies, also Ironheart, and Eyes of Wakanda, which will be next month's review. So we're going to be reviewing, or sorry, November is this month, I guess, but this is technically October's episodes. But November, we're going to be covering Ironheart and Eyes of Wakanda. So that way we have those ready for our rankings in December. Kels, anything else on your end that you want to bring up?
Well, I guess in a way, like I'm looking forward to finally getting around to Ironheart because then at least I know I'm getting more Riri Williams. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a highlight for sure. I really like her character. I'm excited to see what we have in store. But otherwise, that is it for us. Kels, where can they find you out there?
You can find me on Letterbox at Kelsey A. Kill. That's
Mhm.
also my Instagram handle as well. I actually think it's Kelsey A. Kilpatrick, but it's just the rest of my last name. And you can check out, I'm so excited to finally start saying this. You can check out my YouTube channel, which is back up and running officially. It's just my name, Kelsey Kilpatrick. And I have a good, meaty 3 hour deep dive into all of the DC films that I watched over the summer. So you can check that out and let me know what you think of that as well.
Yay. Are any of your 13 frights ending up anywhere on like TikTok or YouTube, or no? That was just more of like a personal
I didn't record anything this year. It was just too much with like now that I have
moving.
like the
Yeah.
YouTube channel back up and running, I've already started like working on the next video. So I think any like movie opinions I have like moving forward are going to end up on the main channel. So
Cool, very fun. And of course, check out Kelsey on Letterbox too, because I'm sure she logs some stuff there. And you can find me at Letterbox or anywhere else, Dylan_Randazzo. That's where I'm at. And I will be home soon, in less than 2 months, which is really exciting. And then we'll be still doing bi-monthly, just for our sakes and our schedules, but we'll be kind of really digging in and making sure we get these out on time with no blips, no hills or speed bumps. But thank you guys for staying with us and being loyal and being awesome. And thanks to everyone who recommended movies for me for 31 Days of Halloween. I still haven't finished making all my TikToks just because I was sick for 2 weeks and injured for 2 weeks. So um,
mm.
I'm like kind of going back and making all those now. So I've got 2 more weeks left of videos to put out. So I will be putting those out within the week. So thank you for watching, and check out our Discord. We got a lot of fun stuff going on there. And stay tuned. Next episode, Ironheart. Very excited. Otherwise, that's it for me. It for Kelsey. Happy Halloween. I'm just going to go through all the fun backgrounds we had that StreamYard designed for us just because we couldn't decide on one. But woo, spooky. Ooh, how fun. Oh, that's so cool. All right, guys. Have a great one.